Evil Avalon web novel Chapter 102 to 115, Chapter 102 Star on the stage. Accompanied by Kunoichi-san and Karara-chan in dresses, we walk down the long corridor leading to the party hall. At the end of the corridor, there is a double sliding door, and as we approach, the staff opens it with a smile. Beyond the door is an opulent hall the size of a gymnasium, and as we enter, more than a dozen waitresses and butlers all bow their heads and welcome us. Such a grand treatment would be stressful for the average person, but perhaps that is part of the goal. I was a little intimidated, but I managed to cover it up as I followed closely behind Kunoichi-san and Karara-chan. In the back of the room, platters of food were laid out on a large table, and we were told that we were free to eat whatever was placed here. Since we arrived earlier than planned, only a few dishes are on the table at the moment, but they are going to bring more in the future. Take what you like on your plate and eat it. I recommend this one, which I prepared just for today. With red manicured fingertips, Kunoichi-san showed us a platter with a large round metal lid. When I opened it, I found a whole roasted bird, toasted to a candy brown color. I wondered if it was Peking duck, and it looked very tasty indeed. As I looked at it hungrily, a nearby cook immediately cut it into pieces. It looks like it is served on a thin rice cake like a crepe, dipped in sauce, and rolled up with vegetables. I'm already exhausted from all the hunger I've endured since the fight with Idiot on the 20th floor of the dungeon, but I'll take my chances. I'll take it without hesitation. Yum! The crispy thin rice cake envelops the brown chicken skin and fluffy vegetables, and an indescribable savory aroma passes through my nostrils. The cooks cut and rolled the chicken skin and vegetables one after another, watching my reaction, and I was allowed to put a piece in my mouth each time. I can't stop. Fufu, you're a good eater, aren't you? How about that next one? A platter with a large prawn on it was brought from the other side. When I opened the lid, I found a huge lobster, almost 50 centimeters in length, on it. On top of it was a white sauce, which the new cook cut into small pieces and presented to us. Woohoo, what's with all the plumpness? The lobster and the sauce were beautifully intertwined in the mouth, and the delicious taste and creamy aroma of the lobster overflowed with every bite. I have never tasted such delicious prawns. It is an ingredient that should be savored slowly, but I couldn't wait to have it served on a small plate, so I grabbed a platter and devoured the whole prawn with a mouthful of food. As I was gnawing on a piece of fruit next to the platter, 3 new platters arrived, each with a very alluring aroma. The aroma is very appetizing. Which shall I eat first? Is it really okay to eat that much? He's a very important guest, so don't just stand there, be hospitable. Fufu, yes. Karara-chan pours me a glass of soda as if she was in a hurry. The cooks and waitresses start scurrying about as Kunoichi-san calls out for more and more dishes to be brought in, and a colorful array of fine cuisine is laid out in a narrow space. It's free food anyway, so let's eat, eat, eat. While I was feeling good and pouring one dish after another into my stomach, the waitresses and butlers began to gather at the entrance of the room. As I looked sideways to see who was coming, the door was opened and they welcomed me with a bow of their heads, just as they had done for me. The man who entered was a burly man with a bewitching masked beauty on the left and by a samurai by his right. He looked like someone I've seen before. He is a teacher we have been taking care of for a long time, but he is a bit difficult to deal with. He's a teacher, Kunoichi-san, who is looking at me trying to remember who he is, tells me that he is a teacher of some kind. He wears a shiny gold badge on his chest, but that is not enough to identify him as a politician, lawyer, or dark organization leader, among many other things. The man walks down the hall with a large step and sits down roughly on a large sofa, then nervously calls out, "Hey, call more Ne-chan." Soon several women in masked dresses came out from the back to entertain him, but this time he put his hands unreservedly on their shoulders, pulled them close, and started fussing with them to pour them sake. I envy him. It's inexcusable. TL. Both of them are simp. The women on the receiving end, however, showed no signs of displeasure, smiling and saying, "Mr. Minister," as they poured out the drinks. Minister-sama, isn't it? I think he is a Japanese minister. I remember that the Goshin family also had experience as military ministers, so maybe that's the connection. Japan in this world has a political system similar to that of pre-war Japan, and it is not recognized that it is enough to only defend itself in terms of national defense. The ministers are not called Minister of Defense, but rather, Minister of the Army, and Minister of the Navy. Of these two ministers, the one who has a connection with Kunoichi Red is the Minister of the Army, who has jurisdiction over the Adventurers Guild, but I'm not sure if it's right to be eating in the same place as such a great man. There you go, there are more delicious dishes to come, so don't hesitate to eat them. Narumi, here, on. The meat dishes were pushed into my hands by Kunoichi and Karara-chan, so I opened my mouth and bit into them. As I bite into it, juicy meat juices overflow and the spicy seasoning comes into play later. It's not often that I get a chance to eat something this good, so I decide to concentrate on the food and not think too much about it. While I was loosening my belt several times and moving my mouth around, the waitresses and butlers started to gather at the entrance again. Were there guests again? The door was opened and the next person standing there was a white man in his 30s, wearing a light striped high-class suit. He entered with his hands in his pockets and an irreverent attitude as he stared ahead. His eyes are sharp, however, and he clearly has an air of nonchalance about him. There is a beautiful masked woman behind him, but her expression is hard and she follows him at a distance, as if she is wary of him. I'm pretty sure that's him. He is from an overseas organization with which we have been in contact for a long time, but he happened to be in Japan, so we asked him to join us. Nungungu. I see. A certain organization. I know that face. The Holy Empire was created by a group of adventurers in Eastern Europe, and he is a dangerous man who holds a key position in the Empire. He is a boss character who appears at the end of the game, but I didn't know he had come to Japan at this point in time. I wonder what on earth he is doing here. I'm sure his henchmen have also entered the country, but I can only see that guy here. Is this indeed getting to the point where it's no longer worth for to not be entertained? If things go smoothly according to the story from now on, he is also someone with whom Akaji and his men may have to fight. Eating in the same space with such a person is not good for the soul. I wonder if it's right for me to be here and eating with such great people. We've invited 3 guests of honor today, and the 3rd guest of honor is Narumi, right? I'm the guest of honor. Why am I the guest of honor? How is it possible that they would make me, a commoner, the guest of honor in front of a minister of a country and a key figure of a major adventurer power? No, it's not impossible, but I don't think they have that much information on me. I thought at first they were just trying to find out which organization I belong to in relation to open double angle bracket fake closed double angle bracket, but I wonder if they got any other important information. When I asked her about it, he told me that Haruka Mikami, the leader of the clan, seems to make the decision on her own whether or not to invite anyone to the clan party, and that she did not know the details. She said she wanted to talk to me at length later, so she told me to ask her directly if I was interested. I'm getting a bad feeling about this. I can't say I'm going home now, so I'm going to just open up and eat as much as I can. It seems like your body is getting bigger and bigger. I'm sure that's true. The first time I saw him, he was a little bit bigger than the first time I saw him. It's true, you have a strange body. Kurara-chan says with a raised willow eyebrow. It swelled up to about the same size as when I first saw it, while Kunoichi-san looks at me with a rare animal stare. Come to think of it, I had to loosen my belt a lot because of the pain in my stomach, but it's not just my stomach, I feel like I'm bulging all over. This way. Even I don't know what's going on with my body right now. As I was reaching for the next plate of food with a mixed feeling of wanting or not wanting to look in the mirror, a spotlight shone on the stage-like area and the closed curtains slowly began to move upward. A spotlight hit the stage-like area and the curtains, which had been closed, slowly moved upward. Here comes my aunt. When the curtains rose, there was a lineup of players with stringed instruments and saxophones, and light jazz-like music was playing. At the same time, Haruka Goshin, a woman in a bright red dress, appeared with a big smile on her face and was welcomed with applause by the butlers and the masked beauties. TL. Haruka Goshin and Haruka Mikami are the same. Welcome to the event. We have prepared a lot of entertainment for you 3, so please enjoy yourselves tonight. Her dark red hair is braided into an updo, and she wears a purple-blue dress adorned with large jeweled earrings and a necklace. Her eyes and nose are very clear, and her beauty shines brighter than when seen on TV. When she gestures to her with eye contact, the light dims a little and a slow piano prelude begins. Then, with the bass drumming, she began to sing in a sweet voice. Only a very limited number of people get to hear this voice live. Kurara is next to me, her eyes moistening as she listens. I am not very familiar with jazz, but I can still tell that she is an outstanding singer. Her clear voice, from high to low notes, is very pleasant. I would have loved to listen to this kind of music while drinking a few drinks, but I am underage, so I have no choice but to endure. When the song was over, all the staff butlers burst into applause, and Kurara-chan stood up and clapped enthusiastically and excitedly. It's true that when a singer can sing as well as this, you want to applaud at least once. Bravo. Please continue to enjoy the sake, the food, and the music played by our masterful musicians. I would like to say a few words to each of you. She bowed lightly, stepped off the stage, and headed first to the table where the portly minister was seated. He is grinning at her like a pre-matriculation Butao pig, but Goshin keeps a smile on her face in an amused way. The minister tries to get carried away and put his hand on her shoulder, but she easily ducks it and pours herself a drink. Goshin seems to be quite adept at dealing with this kind of situation. But after only a minute or two of talking to the minister, whom I thought was the most important person in the room, she dismisses him, saying, "You're free to go." He resisted by clinging to a chair, saying, "I'm still going to enjoy myself," but a black-robed butler came out, tied him up, and took him out of the hall. Next she went to a table where a white man was drinking a drink in a boring manner. After exchanging brief greetings, the man's face contorted into a scowl. He put his feet up on the table and began to speak in an arrogant manner. In contrast, Goshin is laughing colossally as if to say that she doesn't mind such an attitude at all. It was a scene that made me wonder if they were really talking about the same thing. As I was trying to listen to what they were talking about, Kunoichi-san seemed to want to ask about the adventurer's school and started asking me questions about it. I heard that Narumi is attending the same school as this girl. Is she good in grades? I'm not sure. My class is called E-class. Yes, I heard that they were also doing a great job in the interclass competition. I saw it. Thanks to me, the E-class beat out the D-class and came in 4th place, and all the first-year students in the room where the results were announced were thrilled. It is true that it was great that I was able to follow them to the 20th floor and get a score for the depth of achievement, but it was not my ability because all the monsters were eliminated by the noble guards. But they would not listen to me when I told them that. They just wouldn't listen. From the way he moved when we first met, he looked to be about level 20, so it wouldn't surprise me if he could make it to the 20th floor. It would seem so. I can't help but wonder how such a gem of a person got an E-class start. I wonder what the upper management of the school was looking at. I wonder what the school's upperclassmen saw when they saw me beating the crap out of the examiner when I took my adventurer's class promotion exam. I guess Kunoichi-san saw that and understood that one need to be at least level 20 to overpower an opponent of that caliber. Not quite wrong. You said you wanted a strong new recruit for the Thief Clan. Have you invited Narumi? Not yet. Are you interested in joining the club, Narumi? I'm in Homecoming Club, Don Boom. I heard a loud noise and looked to see that the table had been overturned in an unexpected direction. The glasses and plates on the table were broken, and the food was scattered all over the place. It seemed that the white man had kicked the table. In doing so, the drink seemed to have splashed a little on Goshen's dress, and the waitress was rushing over with a rag as if in a panic. Nah, Aunt, wait. Karara-chan released her killing intent and tried to rush in, but was instantly stopped by Kunoichi-san, who restrained her with his shoulder. However, the butlers and masked beauties around her were not able to suppress their killing intent, and some of them were even waitresses who tried to take weapons out of their skirts. White, isn't she just a waitress? I thought she was just an ordinary waitress because she was carrying food and drinks with her bare face and no mask, but that girl seems to be a fine Kunoichi Red member too. Keeping in mind the glimpse of the shining white secret area in my mind, I looked around to check the situation. It doesn't look like there's going to be a battle. Except for a few distraught individuals, the situation seems to be very well controlled. The waitress I saw earlier also quickly put away her weapon and went about her business with a smile on her face. I was a little impatient, thinking that a battle might start, because it would be a shallow act to pick a fight with that man. The Holy Empire is said to be the adventurer superpower, holding off a host of European nations in a single country. He is one of the 10 most powerful men in the Holy Empire, though not a cardinal but not weak by any means. I don't know how strong Kunoichi Red is as a group, but if they fight, he will not go down without a fight. It's just that, he is a cruel man, but he is cold and calculating, not the kind of man who would unleash his anger unprovoked. The reason why he didn't hide his anger so well is that she may have broached some provocative subject. I am sorry, please wait a moment while I bring you another dish. Goshen, who is looking very calm, tries to order a new dish to be brought, but the man mutters something as if he is going to throw up and leaves the place. The butlers around him did nothing to stop him and just bowed their heads. The remaining Goshen just shrugged her shoulders. After shrugging her shoulders, the remaining Goshen turns back to me, the last guest, and approaches me gracefully, smiling. When she comes up to me, she bows lightly and slowly sits down in the chair facing me. Up close, I can see that she has a frighteningly beautiful face and figure. With 2 light taps of her slender hand, the player on the stage plays a pleasant sound, and the butler prepares snacks and drinks. The butler then offers a drink to us. I'm sorry for the embarrassment I caused you earlier. Nice to meet you, Sota Narumi-sama. I am Haruka Mikami, head of the Mikami family, also known as the Goshen. TL. Goshen as in protector. She introduces herself by bowing deeply and politely. I was surprised because I had never thought that a high-ranking nobleman with a count's rank would bow to a commoner, and at the same time, my sense of caution was heightened. Why does she have to be so polite? A man of the Holy Empire, a minister of some sort, and me. I don't think these 3 people, who I don't believe have anything in common, were invited here just for the sake of hospitality. As evidence of this, the 2 had already left and I was the only one left. I have no idea what they want to ask me or what they want to negotiate. Well, I'll know what she means when she talked to me. Thank you for your politeness. I am Sota Narumi, a first-year student in Class E at the Adventurers High School. Chapter 103 Over the Table Speculation. I face Goshen, the clan leader of the Kunoichi Red clan, across the table and we greet each other. I don't want to go on and on about social pleasantries, so I ask her directly why she called me here. So you didn't call me because I was in possession of a fake? Fake is a skill that protects one's information from appraisal skills by disguising one's status and name. In this world, there are many places that use simple appraisal to verify the identity of adventurers, and it is effectively used as a social system. It is clear that if fake were to become known, chaos would ensue. Even if the existence of fakes were to become public knowledge, it would be possible to detect them with a higher level skill called appraisal, but this appraisal is a national secret only in the US, and the method of learning it has not been disclosed to other countries. On the other hand, magic items containing appraisal magic are available in the market, but they are so expensive that a single appraisal costs several million yen, so they cannot be abused. For these reasons, I assume that the countries of the world designated the fake skill as harmful before it spread, and restricted information and learning methods. Since I had such a hidden skill, Kunoichi Red saw it as a problem. At least this must have been her concern when she first sent the clan party invitation. Goshen nodded slowly in affirmation. Yes, we were indeed interested in the possession of the fakes as well, but before that, how much do you know about our clan, Narumi-sama? Goshen's Kunoichi Red often appears on TV and in magazines, so most people would associate them with an entertainment group or an entertainment agency. I thought about answering in the same way, but after some consideration I decided to answer frankly, since I could not go on with my story if I was playing dumb. I heard that in addition to running the Adventurers Guild, you are also involved in espionage and other activities. Yes, we do. The fake is a skill that is only disclosed to organizations like ours, but when we checked, there was no evidence that Narumi-sama had received permission from the government to learn or use it. I have been trying to figure out how you could have possessed such a skill in spite of that. At first I was suspected as a foreign agent, in other words, agents like Kuga Katona. They suspected that I was an agent from abroad who had come to Japan to spy on a special Japanese institution called the Adventurers School. Goshin said she was personally very interested in the person who had penetrated through the Adventurers School's research and security. However, my family structure and background negated that. After a detailed investigation, everyone in the Narumi family seemed to be an ordinary person. If you were an agent, your past would have been erased or your career would have been manipulated, but I was able to trace the entire life of Narumi-sama and his family, and I was able to confirm that they were purely ordinary people, if that is the case. The possibility of a domestic dark organization. A fellow worker who normally spends his time as a civilian and only has a dark side when he is on a mission. There are several domestic organizations that possess fakes, but I can think of only one organization whose members are completely unknown to me. That rings a bell. Maybe or maybe not, but Goshin looked as if she was certain. I'm going to ask her anyway. I heard that Oboro Hayes went into the dungeon. Oboro, Goshin smiles smugly, as if to say that she has revealed my true identity. The kunoichi, who was listening next to her, seemed to know who it was, but Karara-chan was surprised to hear that I was Oboro, her eyes fluttering. Oboro or Hayes is a secret society that is said to be behind various conspiracies and is a famous organization that has become an urban legend. I remember that it appeared in a sub-story in Dun X, and that there was a quest to defeat it, which involved finding out its true identity and capturing its leaders. What does this Oboro have to do with me? Just so I'm clear, you were talking about that famous secret society, right? Hayes, yes, that Oboro. I heard that Oboro appeared as a helper in Narumi-sama's class. A helper for our class? We understand that the leader of the Sorrel clan was defeated by an unidentified girl wearing a mask. The defeated clan leader is actually a member of the Kinrin-kai. Kunoichi Red was informed that a powerful member of the conquering clan Kinrin-kai had been knocked down by someone and taken to the infirmary. When the guild officials rushed to interview him afterwards, he testified that the unidentified girl was Oboro. I am sure that I confirmed directly with my sister that she had defeated a member of the Kinrin-kai. She said that his level was over 20, and she had no choice but to put out her true spirit. However, I do not know what the man saw in Hanano that made him mistake her for Oboro. Perhaps sensing that I was not quite grasping the situation, Goshin added an explanation. The girl was a faker. We can't be certain that she is Oboro on that basis alone, but it seems that she also used her speed-increasing skill. Speed-increasing skills? Is that a skill known only to Oboro? It is a skill that makes Oboro powerful, and we want to obtain that skill at all costs. It seems that Goshin suspects that both I and the masked girl are Oboro members and that we have information about the speed-increase skill. The speed-increasing skills my sister remembered were Accelerator, which increases movement speed by 30%, and Shadow Step, which also increases evasion. There is no need to go to the trouble of pointing out the mistake and giving the correct information, but I'll just add a quip. I don't know of any such skill, so there is no way I can trade it, and I don't think it's fair to assume that she is Oboro just because she possesses a speed-increasing skill. I think you are being too paranoid. With all due respect, but an unidentified strongman who has mastered both the fake and the speed increase skills has conveniently appeared as a helper in Narumi-sama's class, even if you ask me not to suspect this. The actuality is, it's impossible, and even if the masked girl was not Oboro, it does not change the fact that she had learned the speed increase skill. Kunoichi Red wants not information about Oboro, but rather the speed increase skill. With the speed increase skill, Kunoichi Red would be able to leap ahead and carry out various missions. She tells me how much it will benefit the country and society, but to be honest, I don't really care. What matters to me is whether or not I can protect the people I care about, and I have no expectations of Kunoichi Red in that regard. When Go-Win saw that her attempts at persuasion were not working, her elegant face fell slightly and she played the negotiation card. Narumi-sama will surely need our help. Why, if I may ask? She's talking nonsense again. I would rather retreat to the dungeon with my family than rely on a Kunoichi Red, but let's just ask her why, shall we? This is top secret information we have obtained, but the Kinrin-kai is going to declare war on Oboro in the near future. She explained to me what kind of clan the Kinrin-kai is. Before it became an affiliate of the Colors, the Kinrin-kai was larger than it is now, and it spent most of its time fighting with various clans over rights and interests. A large-scale clan is bound to have conflicts. Japan's largest clan, Jirakusetsu, is also in a constant battle all year round, so it is not difficult to imagine. Kinrin-kai has also won many battles and secured sponsors and excellent human resources one after another. It had rapidly expanded to become one of the leading clans in Japan and was at its peak, but that did not last long. One day about 10 years ago, something triggered a war with Oboro, and within a month it was half destroyed. More than half of the Kinrin-kai members were killed, and the clans and sponsors who had been their allies defected one after another. The clan fell into a crisis of survival. The clan made the difficult decision to join the Colors, which was gaining momentum at the time, in an effort to rebuild the clan. The old Kinrin-kai members who have been around since before joining the Colors still harbor intense feelings of hatred toward Oboro, but the other day they were defeated by an adventurer who appeared to be Oboro. When the Adventurers Guild was informed of Oboro's defeat, the executives of the Kinran Kai were outraged, claiming that Oboro had tarnished the name of the clan. A general meeting of the clan was immediately held, and a shouting match ensued over whether the clan should retaliate or remain silent, since no lives had been taken. After much wrangling, it was decided that the former Sorrel clan leader would take the lead in defeating Oboro in a bid to clear his name. The previous clan leader of Sorrel, yes, the man is called Sosuke Kirigaya, the man who was defeated by the masked girl. Kaga Daigo is the current clan leader of Sorrel, but he only recently assumed his name. Until last month, the clan leader was Kirigaya. Sosuke Kirigaya. I remember my mom telling me at a family meeting once that the clan leader of Sorrel is a dangerous man, but he's come a long way in such a short period of time to become the leader of a second-tier organization. I heard that he made tremendous achievements, and was promoted to the number 2 position in the Kinran Kai, which was an unprecedented promotion. His nickname is Mad Dog, and while we are still trying to find out more about him, we have heard that he has a very bad temper, just as his name suggests. What would happen if such an evil-looking guy were to take the lead? They must be trying to gather information about Oboro by suing violence to get it out of people related to Mask Girl. If that happens, not only my sister but also Satsuki and Kaworu will be troubled, right? As you may have guessed from, not only the masked girl, but also her friends at school could be harmed. It pains me to think of your current feelings, Narumi-sama. Seeing my eyebrows slightly raised, Goshin held her chest with both hands as if she was pained. If Kirigaya were to go into an adventurer's school and harm the students, I'm sure the school and the government would take appropriate action. I think that even the Kinran Kai would know that much. The Adventurers School is an institution created by the Japanese government with the prestige of training adventurers. The government would not be silent if anyone messed with the students enrolled in the school. Even the clan would be subject to severe sanctions. As you say, the government will take action if they harm the students in public. However, there are many places outside the school and in the dungeon that are out of sight. We cannot predict what the man known as the Mad Dog will do. Indeed, even the strong Kinran Kai of that time was driven to a devastating defeat in just 1 month, so why did they think they could beat Oboro without much preparation? Even though the Colors, a higher-ranked organization, was behind them, there was no reason or merit for them to become enemies with Oboro just because one of their subordinate organizations had lost. On the other hand, it would be too optimistic to think that the Kinran Kai alone could win. We should think that the odds are stacked against us. Perhaps it has something to do with Kirigaya's tremendous achievement. Some mighty magic item, some skill. Perhaps he discovered a new job. Without such a plan, they would not have declared war on Oboro. There has clearly been a change in the atmosphere at Colors recently, including in the subordinate organizations. There is always something going on. Goshin has yet to figure out what it is, but she says it's only a matter of time before she figures out what it is. I already have my men snuck in around the Kinran Kai. With our superior intelligence skills, it won't be long before we find out what it is. At the same time, we believe it is possible to protect your friend Narumi-sama from them. Kunoichi Red will move to monitor Kinran Kai and gather information while protecting my classmates. If necessary, they will intervene and negotiate with them. It would certainly be a great benefit to me if she did that. I see, so that's what you mean when you say you need Goshin-san's help, but I still can't accept the deal. May I ask why? Because even if we accept Goshin-san's proposal, we must first trust each other. Even if we were to provide the information, there is a possibility that it would be contradicted if it became inconvenient to Kunoichi Red. First of all, we have to make sure that Goshin-san and the others are trustworthy partners. But this is all when there is an assumption that if I knew about the speed-increasing skills, that is. According to what Lisa told me, the Kunoichi Red clan was not a friend of justice. We can't afford to have our backs protected by a group that could attack us at any moment. Do you think we're going to go back on the contract, kid? Narumi corrected immediately and apologized to my aunt. The butler, who had been smiling and waiting behind me, suddenly turned indignant when I refused Goshin's proposal, and the waitress's fury swelled. Karara-chan, who was sitting next to me, also looks bloodthirsty and asks me to apologize. I know I should be polite, but I have to be cautious when the safety of people I care about is at stake. But the anger of the people in the back of the room is not letting up. Is this a bad idea? I'm in the middle of a needle's throw with dozens of people staring at me. I can't afford to be in a battle with this many people, so I should probably prepare to run away. On the other hand, Goshin is pretending to think about something without calming her subordinates around us. Perhaps this pressure is part of her plan. For now, she hasn't made any moves to attack me, so I'll just wait for Goshin's decision while eating a set of snacks lined up in front of me. By the way, if I apologize too, will you really forgive me, Karara-chan? Chapter 104 Bulging Pockets. Kusunoki Karara's point of view. While confronting his deep-rooted aunt head-on in Kunoichi Red's home base, Narumi Sota is unperturbed as he takes on the wrath of the butler-in-chief, the Suicide Squad leader, in the background, and the senior members of Kunoichi Red around him. In this party hall, there are only real combatants who have mastered all kinds of missions and are well-versed in fighting against other people. The butler-in-chief and deputy leader are level 25 and are as skilled as the top clan members. On the other hand, Narumi's level is around 20. Although he is very talented, it is obvious that if it came down to a fight, he would be unable to do anything against us, who have a lot of experience in combat, and he would be seized. But why is it that he is able to devour his snacks as if he does not care at all about the glare of the butler and the anger of my seniors? This is delicious, so can I take some home? He would not wait for me to answer, and began to sneak the snacks into his pockets. It was beyond brazen. It looked like an abnormality. I wonder if he is not afraid of being stared at by this many people. He must be actually trembling with fear, but perhaps it was just hard to read his expressions because of his rounded appearance. Come to think of it, he has suddenly gained weight after eating a tremendous amount of food, but that may be a special ability to camouflage or hide his emotions. I was simply baffled by the situation, as it deviated from common sense in so many ways that it was impossible to guess what it was. Such a situation probably lasted for about 30 seconds. My aunt, who had been thinking for a long time, moved. I understand. I will withdraw for today, but first, please take a look at this. Is this the request form? The client is Kinran Kai. One can see through the request form that the request in it is for the investigation was for the collection and extradition of the masked girl and her associates, and the cost of the investigation would be 100 million yen up front. This meant that the Kinran Kai had requested an investigation. Narumi looked up from the request form and asked my aunt with an expression that, as usual, made it hard to tell what he was thinking. What is your true intention in showing this to me? Does it mean that you are going to join the Kinran Kai? I do not say so. We would like to emphasize the importance of our relationship with Narumi-sama, and we hope you understand that, and also. Saying this, my aunt rips the request form vertically on the spot. She then signals to the butler and receives a new envelope. Inside are several golden cards, one of which is placed in front of Narumi. I think it would be best if I give you this one as well. What is this? An invitation to the clan party? Yes, I have been told that a party will be held at the Kinran Kai in the near future. It seems that they are sending out invitations not only to the clans they know well, but also to many others, and we have received one as well. Invitations have been sent to a wide range of people, including the media, government officials, and corporations, and they are planning to make a big announcement. There, my aunt said that it might be about the achievements of Kirigaya. The Kinran Kai may become an enemy of Narumi-sama in the future. I think it would be better for you to take a look around in person. It's true that my face hasn't been exposed yet, and with this card, I might be able to sneak into the clan party with impunity. I'll send some of our people to escort you, don't worry. After a couple of brief checks, the discussion ended in a relatively relaxed mood. Although my aunt wanted to continue the reception, Narumi stood up and said he had something to think about and was going home. He was looking very awkward with his eyebrows furrowed and his pockets bulging from the snacks. I'll send him on his way, you stay here. Narumi left the hall and I stood up, intending to take him home the same way I had picked him up, but the assistant leader stopped me. But then who will be taking Narumi home? Haruka-sama wants to talk to you about him, go that way. TL. Goshin is a title. Haruka is the boss' real name. The deputy leader pointed in the direction of the aunt, who was standing by the window looking down on the garden with a thoughtful expression on her face. There was no soft smile on her face like until a few minutes ago. When I stood next to her, she handed me a pair of earphones and told me to put them in my ears. Now Sota Narumi's battle is about to begin. Let your eyes witness his prowess. What does combat mean? I was surprised because I thought the end of the discussion would be friendly. I hurriedly look out the window and see Narumi facing the head butler around the fountain. At the same time, a voice comes out of the earphone. Hey, kid. You disrespected us on the Lord a moment ago. Do you think you can go home for free? I'm sorry about that. The chief butler is throwing words that can be considered intimidation. That means. Today's 3. Do you remember why I called them? Yes, I do. To find out whether they will be the hope of our country or the disaster that will harm us. Kunoichi Red is ostensibly a model or entertainer, but in reality it is a clan under the direct control of the state that gathers information on people and organizations that threaten the country and society, and sometimes even assassinates them. Tonight, under the guise of a clan party, the main purpose of the party was to call up people of note, bombard them with various information, and determine their hostility based on their reactions. From the look of the butler-in-chief, does this mean that Sota Narumi is going to be a disaster? What did you think? I think back to the exchange between my aunt and Narumi. The fact that Narumi might be Oboro, and that he might have trouble with the Kinran Kai. Although he lacked respect for my aunt, none of the exchanges seemed to be so problematic. Besides, Narumi might have the skills and information we were looking for, and I felt it would be too hasty to move to eliminate him at this moment. He didn't seem like the kind of person who would be a disaster, to be honest, and if we haven't yet learned how to obtain the speed-increasing skill and information about Oboro, is there any reason to move to eliminate him right now? We certainly want that information, but our first priority is to judge his intentions. We want to know what he's up to, but we can't let him discover our objective. My aunt said that she had been exploring the inside of the company by arranging plausible statements for that purpose. Of course, it is also true that she wants information about Oboro and her speed-increasing skills. He did not appear to be intoxicated by violence or to have dangerous ideas, although his lack of loyalty to the state was a cause for concern. But we don't know the key details behind it, so we have to withhold judgment. At his age and at such a high level, there is a strong possibility that he is overseas or in an unknown dungeon, and that he is backed by Oboro or a similarly large organization. My aunt says first, she would like to get reliable information on what it is and then decide on Narumi's disposition, but If so, is the butler-in-chief's actions considered out of control? Below, the chief butler is emitting a powerful open double-angle bracket or a closed double-angle bracket that can reach this far. This means that this entire area has been transformed into an artificial magic field open double-angle bracket AMF closed double-angle bracket, and just as in the dungeon, physical strengthening and skills are available. If that is not exclusion, is it a sanction for being irreverent and disrespectful to my aunt, as I could hear in the earphones? It was my instructions. I hope this gives us some information about him. As she said this, she narrowed her eyes thinly and looked at him carefully. A battle between high-level adventurers is a great opportunity to gain access to a lot of information. I'll give priority to information gathering, but I feel like he's dealing with the wrong person. Facing Narumi is an opponent specialist who has killed countless strong opponents in the past with his rock-piercing fists. His level is about 5 levels higher than Narumi's. It is hard to believe that Sota can engage in a proper battle with such a superior opponent. The senior members of the team, who were also looking on from the window, were saying, there is no way Narumi can compete with him. No matter how good Sota Narumi is, if he's up against that butler chief, I think he'll just be overwhelmed and unable to do anything before he gets the information. I see that many of the members seem to think so, but he's a real monster. I don't see it being one-sided. He is no doubt 15 years old. Despite his age, he was unfazed by the anger of the Kunoichi Reds and the chief butler. My aunt says that you have to go through a lot of hardships to be able to have that kind of courage. I was about to say, isn't him just being brazen and shameless, but I desperately swallowed it down. My aunt, who is very wise, may see it in a different way. If so, I'll trust that and keep an eye on it. The butler-in-chief held his body to the side with his face in front of him and his left hand in the middle of his opponent's body, the so-called half-body stance. I heard that this stance is often used against strong opponents, but I wonder if he is wary of Narumi. In contrast, Narumi lowers his center of gravity slightly and holds his hands out in front of him in a small gesture. It seems that he has given up trying to persuade the chief butler and is ready to intercept him. But it is an unusual posture that I have never seen before, but I wonder which martial art it is. What is the purpose of this unusual posture? That is a Chinese martial art called Hapso Game, which is a way to lure a middle attacker into shooting at you. My aunt is also a close combat user who has practiced a variety of martial arts. She is said to be using the Chinese Shaolin Kempo stance of parrying a middle attack with both hands held out in front of her and aiming for a counterattack. It is true that the chief butler's specialty is Shokin Tsuki, but I was surprised that he could spot it before he even fired a shot, and that Narumi is also so well versed in martial arts at his age. Here we go, kid. Amidst the tense atmosphere, the first to make a move was not the chief butler, but Narumi. He lowered his low posture to crawl even lower. No, he crawled on the ground. I am sorry, disappointed. Narumi raises a pitifully loud voice that echoes even from this distance. Because of his vigorous squatting, a number of snacks in his pocket were scattered. The older people who were watching through the window were wide-eyed and astonished, not understanding what had happened, but I was in the middle of the confusion too. The butler-in-chief looks at Narumi, who is on his knees as an example of throwing away all of his pride, and asks for instructions with a puzzled expression on his face. Kohan. I'm impressed that he didn't show his true colors in that situation. Okay, come back. Isn't that his true nature? It seemed to me that he was afraid of the butler chief's real aura and surrendered, but I wonder if that is not true. But for someone as good as Narumi, there is no need for him to act so self-deprecating, and the fact that he got through the situation without letting us get any information is also impressive. There is a possibility that it was all calculated. The aunt took off her earphones, let out a deep breath, and turned to me. Kusunoki Karara. I order you to investigate Sota Narumi. You are to approach him moderately at school and gather information. Yes, sir. How about Kinrin Kai? Sorrel and the Kinrin Kai are a problematic clan within the Adventurers Guild because they have caused a number of violent incidents. The colors are behind this, so it is not easy to impose sanctions, but that said we are working to destroy it sooner or later. What does your aunt think about this move by the Kinrin Kai? For the time being, our priority is to gather information about Kinrin Kai as well. I don't think they will make any major moves before the big announcement, but if there is anything they might try to do to the school, let me know immediately. Yes, sir. I would like to successfully use them to push Sota Narumi into a corner. After she finished saying this, my aunt untied her hair, which had been put up in an updo, and walked out of the hall. I exhaled heavily and thought about Narumi. Even though we had gathered a lot of information and had even gone to the extent of coercing the head butler, we hadn't been able to get much information. I also think that he will not show his tail in the future. We must be very careful in our work. Through the window, I could see him blowing on the scattered snacks and stuffing them back into his pocket. Could such a harmless-looking man really be the hope of our country? Or is he still a disaster? Either way, I will surely expose you for what you really are. Chapter 105 Familiar Figure. No, is this even possible? At the clan party last night, I was exhausted because I had a lot of things to think about, such as the Kinrin Kai and the butler, in addition to the hard work of just trying to figure out how Mikami the Goshin was going to behave. So, as soon as I got home, I dove into bed and fell asleep as if I had fainted. When I woke up the next morning and looked in the mirror, I saw a familiar katakana middle dot katakana middle dot katakana middle dot reflection. I had lost all the flab around my chin and waist just before I went to the clan party, and my abs were so ripped and slim that I could have been described as a fine macho. but the man on the other side of the mirror has regained his flabby body. I have gained about 20 kilograms, judging from how fat I have become. A normal person would gain a few kilograms a day at most, no matter how much he or she eats. But when I think about why I gained so much weight, I remember that I have a nasty skill called gluttony. Perhaps it has the side effect of forcing me to convert excessive calorie intake into fat. No, maybe it's possible that the weight loss itself was just my imagination. Although I was on a diet on a regular basis, it would be strange if I gained or lost so much weight every time I overeat or fight to the death. It was all a delusion. In any case, it doesn't change the fact that I'm fat now, so I'll just have to get myself together and keep dieting, haha. As I return to the living room to brush my teeth in a slightly depressed state, the arm terminal on the desk rings. Tapping the screen, I turn on video mode and see the smiling faces of Hanano and my mother. From the dimly lit, lonely scene behind her, it seems to be a transmission from the Party of the Dead, with the Bloody Baron. Hey Oni, Mommy and Daddy have reached level 17, can we go to the next hunting ground now? Sota, I've become a wizard, come, burning flames, Fuya. Boru. TL. Burning flames sound, my mother floats a fireball the size of a person's head in her hand and shoots it vigorously toward the corpse warrior that popped up a few dozen meters away. When the fireball lands at their feet, it makes a low thumping sound and a cloud of dust rises up, creating a crater several meters wide. The corpse warrior was blown away about 10 meters and turned into a magic stone. It seems that magic of that class is powerful enough to kill a monster level 16 or so with a single blow. However, it is a difficult technique to use because it has a long cooldown time and cannot be used again for 10 minutes after a single shot. The camera then spins around and looks in a different direction. In the back of the room, we see an adventurer wearing heavy metal gear running around with a large sword. He was wearing a helmet, so I couldn't make out his face, but most probably it's my father. When I first came to this world, he was complaining of a sore back, but now he is able to run so powerfully while wearing armor heavier than his own body weight and wielding a large sword. Physical strengthening sure is a great thing. Hanano, who had been excited to see her parents' level of improvement, suddenly stares at me and makes a close-up face. I was wondering what she was thinking when. Wait a minute, Oni, have you gained weight again? Really, I look the same as before. Yesterday you were so skinny, Mom, look at this picture. Hanano showed my mother a picture of me taken last night, and she began to make a fuss about it. I guess it wasn't my imagination that I looked so skinny yesterday. I proceeded to talk with her, vowing to stop eating recklessly. Let's go to a new hunting ground, as we have decided for a long time. Yay, I'll be waiting for you at the gate. Dad, Sota said he would take me to the new hunting ground. Let's get ready. I cut off the communication while looking at the faces of my sister and mother, who were in high spirits. I'm glad to hear that my dad and mom have been doing well while I've been out of action in the class competition. I'll get ready and join them. As I was locking the door behind me, Akaji, Tachiki-kun, Pink-chan, and Kaworu came out of the house across the street. In other words, Kaworu's house, wearing black-colored demon wolf protective gear. It was the always familiar hero party. Oh, good morning. Oh, hey, good morning. Akaji-kun noticed me and suddenly approached me and greeted me, so I stepped back and greeted him back. It is just like when he first entered the school. It may be a good trend for the class, but I'm concerned because it was much later in the game that he got into this state. I wonder if something happened in the interclass competition. Behind him, Kaworu rolls his eyes and says, "You gained weight again, why?" I would like to answer her why, but all I can say is, because I ate too much. But I am impressed that the four of them still get together and go hunting the day after the interclass competition is over. No, that's not it. We're going to practice today. Would you like to go with us? I thought they were going hunting, but it turned out to be practice. But it's just like in the game when he doesn't read the atmosphere and tries to invite me, the hated villain, to join him. I wonder if this is the quality of a protagonist. But behind him, Pink-chan is shaking her head in rejection. This little animal-like gesture is kind of soothing, isn't it? Kaworu, on the other hand, lightly put his hand on his chin and made a gesture as if she was thinking about something. TL. I almost forgot how they were. I guess so. I think it would be nice to go with you once in a while. I thought she was going to refuse too, but she agreed with Akaji-kun. Although I wanted to find out her true intentions, Tachiki immediately turned against it. Omiya said she would give us a lecture today, tailored to our level. But if we mix in people who aren't on our level, we'll get ourselves in trouble, won't we? Koku. When Tachiki-kun expressed his concern, Pink-chan nodded her head at high speed as if to say that he was right. I remember Satsuki once told me that Akaji and her friends were not able to level up well because they couldn't use the gate and she wanted to help them. I'm sure Lisa will be there to support them, so it won't be a problem if I'm not there. Besides, I am a man who can read the air. I wouldn't go out of my way to intrude on a party where the main characters are close friends. In fact, I had to decline because I had an appointment to hunt with my family today. I've got some business to attend to, so I'll pass, but thanks for inviting me. I see, but I think you might actually be a great guy. I'd like to hunt with you next time, so please think about it, thanks. What does that mean? Kaworu, who was listening beside me, was dubious as to what he meant by, actually a great guy. According to Akaji, the only reason I was able to make it to the 20th floor of the dungeon at the depths reached in the interclass competition was because I was determined to make sure that Class E would win. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to even set foot in the undead zone infested with superior monsters, or so he thought. Yuma certainly has a point. If that's the case, I'll be looking forward to working with you next time. Tachiki-kun, perhaps having something on his mind, lightly bows his head and invites me to go with him next time. In fact, I couldn't refuse to carry his baggage and just went along with him on the sly, but thinking about fooling the handsome man who doesn't suspect people of wrongdoing makes me a little guilty. But as for Tachiki-kun, he is a person who usually does a lot for the class, so I would like to do something for him. I'm going to throw a message of support to Satsuki today. I'm going to go now, see you later, It's Narumi, Yuma, see you later, Narumi. TL. Jay didn't remember even the name. With that, the main character's party was gone. Akaji, who is very popular because he is very witty and kind to everyone, apparently doesn't remember my name. Well, I'm just a mob character after all. I guess it can't be helped. I creep up to the dimly lit classroom on the first basement floor of the school. I peeked inside and saw a girl in a robe polishing a dagger with lighted magic tools and cleaning tools. But there is only one person there. Hanano. Where are father and mother? Oh, Oni. Dad and mom are on the 10th floor shopping, but they're back already. As I was asking where they were, the gate pattern behind me began to glow purple, and a man in full plate armor appeared from inside, carrying a large leather bag like Santa Claus. When he noticed us, he lifted his face mask and smiled. Have you come, Sota? I brought you a lot. My father is wearing mithril alloy armor all over his body. Although the total cost of this equipment would be more than 10 million yen if he bought it, he was able to get a complete set for about 2 million yen as a processing fee because he prepared all the materials by himself. He had a longing for full plate armor since long ago, and he even slept with it in his arms when he had it all. Next out of the gate was the mother. She was wearing reddish-brown colored light armor made of the skin of a minotaur-type monster called a bull demon. Most metal armors are incompatible with wizards because they impair the passage of magic. Therefore, wizards basically use cloth or leather products, and the mother follows suit. The two of them set down the leather sacks they were carrying. Each of them must have weighed about 100 kilogram. Hanano, who was nearby, picks her nose and frowns. I knew it smelled bad. A sour ammonia smell spreads from the leather bag. The reason is that there is a lot of carrion inside, which is dropped by undead monsters. I had left it unattended because I had no use for it and could not sell it for much money, but today I needed a lot of it, so I told them to collect it for me. I have a few hundred of these, but what are you going to do with so many? I'm going to use them to catch monsters. It's called hunting worms. Worms? We're going to catch them? We are going to the DLC expansion area on the 21st floor. The field map is sparsely populated with short trees like a savanna. Since I was able to register the magic power of the 20th floor during the class competition, it was only a matter of time before I could get to the 21st floor. It would be better to explain how to hunt and what monsters are there. Then I'll open the gate and you can go in. I know the 20th floor is in the building known as Devil's Castle, right? I've seen pictures of it, but I'm looking forward to it. I guess so. I heard that only the best adventurers can reach this place. I guess the time has finally come for us to go there. My mother said anxiously, and my father was deeply moved. But we can't let him be satisfied with this level yet. He has to be strong enough to take out the monsters on the 20th floor with a single punch while humming a song. I placed my hand on the wall carved with geometric patterns and slowly poured magic power into it. Immediately, a purple light ran along the grooves in the pattern, and the gate opened with a low-frequency sound. We're on the 20th floor for the first time, and I'm the first to get in. Dad, you take that one. I'll take that one. Okay, let's go for it. Hanano jumps in first, followed by her mother and father with leather bags on their backs. This hunt is easy, so let's take it easy. So, I went in, too. It's dark. I'll turn on the light. Hanano pulls out a small lantern-like magical tool from her pocket and channels magic power into it, illuminating the area with a bulb-colored light. Although this gated room is about the same size as the classroom, the entire surface is covered with large stone tiles, giving the room a feeling of being in a ruin. But even in such a place, the family scurries around and looks at their surroundings with interest. We can go straight to the 21st floor, but the shortest way is to go up the ladder from the narrow passage on the left. In the meantime, I'll share the map data of the 20th floor with you. I hear something. As I was explaining, I heard someone singing from far away. It was a husky, high-pitched voice, like a boy's before his voice changed. And isn't this melody the opening theme of Dun X? It's been a few days since the competition, but what in the world is he doing? Chapter 106 Arthur's Speculation. We arrived at the gate room on the 20th floor and were about to explain the strategy for the upcoming hunt when we heard someone singing in the distance. It was likely someone I knew, judging from the familiar voice, but I wanted to go and check it out. I'm going to see if I can find out who's there. I think I know him. Yeah, I'll be waiting. If it is not an acquaintance, this gated room cannot be revealed, so I carefully climb up the ladder so as not to make a sound. I raised the stone floor slightly to sneak a peek inside the hall. Foo-foo-foo-foo, Dotterata musical note. A red cloak draped over his rather small frame, he was carrying a huge log, perhaps 5 meters long, and assembling it. Sometimes he danced wildly to the rhythm. Surprised by the dungeon system, which allows even such a slender figure to be physically strengthened without mercy, I looked intently to see what they were building. What is that, a house? Are they trying to build a house in a place where ordinary adventurers would come, and in a building? He was so insane that I couldn't help but call out to him. Hey, Arthur, what are you doing? What? Oh, calamity, disaster, I'm building a base camp, can't you see it? TL, calamity or disaster, whichever one you prefer. The demon turns around while carrying a log. I can see that he is building something like a log cabin, but, wait a minute. That log, with its many knots and bluish color, is not just any wood, and there are so many of them that they're piled up in the back. Aren't those logs are from the frozen Trent drop? How did you manage to get them at your level? Do the monsters don't attack the Majin? No, they do attack me, but this log is a drop from a torrent that grows in my hideout, so I can get a lot of it. What? Frozen torrents are level 40 monsters that are difficult to hunt because they grow in clusters and are easily linked. On top of that, the drop rate of logs is also quite low, making them extremely difficult to obtain. If you process that many logs, you should be able to make powerful bows and arrows with enchanted frost on them. Can't I negotiate to sell some of them to me? But first, let's ask him why he's making these things. What is the point of building a house indoors in a place like this, where so many adventurers come? This hall, with its abundance of stained glass and cathedral-like atmosphere, is revered as the place where a saint once fought a mortal battle with a great demon. Nowadays, it is a safe zone where monsters do not pop up, and adventurers often stop by for rest and relaxation. What was he thinking to build a house in such a place? Incidentally, the walls and ceilings were shredded and nearly collapsed by the battle between Arthur and me a few days ago, but now they are completely restored to their original state thanks to the dungeon's restorative effects. I found out that the 20th floor can be accessed by a gate, so I'm going to use it as my new base of operations. I want to talk to adventurers and gather information. Information? There is Arthur's base hideout on the 38th floor, but no adventurers come there, so he can't gather any information. So he wants to build a new house and live in this safe place where monsters don't pop, and gather and analyze information about the outside world from adventurers. But he is overlooking a couple of major problems. First of all, the dungeon's restorative effect will absorb the building within half a day after it is built. To prevent this, one need to embed a golem nucleus in the material. Oh, that's right, but golems don't pop up within mine range. I do. How about we trade that log for 10 wood golem nucleus? You know this is a frost Trent drop, right? 20 nucleus. But not even those adventurers have a golem core, 15. We negotiated with each other, watching each other's feet and flying guns at each other. Well, there are hundreds of wood golem nucleus, so exchanging them for 20 is perfectly acceptable, but I felt like I was losing the game, so I negotiated hard and we concluded the deal at 15 per log. Now I can make powerful armors. Can I get out of here, Oni? As I was gloating over the fact that my plan to strengthen my armor was unexpectedly going to work, Hanano was standing behind me with her face halfway out of her head, looking at me. I was so engrossed in the conversation that I seemed to have caused her to worry. I decided that Arthur would be fine now and gave him the okay sign. What? He's got big horns. I wonder if it's one of Furufurusan's friends. Oh, hello. Aha. This hole is a little tight. Oh, so this is the Devil's Castle we've heard so much about. The Narumi family members were immediately acting in their own ways after they came out, but when Arthur saw Hanano approaching, he froze with a dumbfounded look on his face. Then he stood next to me and asked me what was going on. That twin-tail girl is so cute, what's her relationship with you? She's my sister, so the two guys in the back. No, don't get carried away. What makes you Butao and such a pretty girl brother and sister? What's wrong with you biologically? He shakes me and tells me to tell the truth and not hide it. I remember that when I first came to this world and saw my family, I was so shocked at the gap between Butao and others. Hello, my name is Hanano Narumi. Do you know Oni? Narumi? Oni, are you really brother and sister? Arthur is upset while comparing me and Hanano at high speed. He finally called me brother-in-law in confusion, so I gave him a hard chop to the brain to remove the abnormality. Hanano's atmosphere is somewhat similar to that of Tenma's, who has recovered after the curse was lifted, but maybe he has a weakness for girls with that kind of innocent, rambunctious attitude. A house. Log house. That's right, I'm going to set up my base here. There it is. Leader, that's it. The door to the entrance of the hall opened with a bang, and about 10 armed adventurers entered. Judging from their armaments, they were probably level 20 or so. The man at the front of the group, who looked to be more than 2 meters tall, appeared to be slightly taller than that. He is holding a short staff in his hand, but it is probably a magical tool with a simple appraisal. The level is surprisingly low. I thought it might be a floorboarder since it is said to be a rare monster. Well, who are you? Shut up, you little fish. When we tried to ask them who they were because the atmosphere was so intense, they started to play the quick appraisal on us without mercy. When they found out that the opposing fish was of a lower level than they were, they radiated an aura to intimidate us. Listen to me for a second before acting almighty. Oh, yeah, we, the Akuma Neko brothers, were the first to put spit on him, so don't mess with us. It looks like it was building a nest, but is it a new kind of monster? If we kill it and hand over the magic stone to the guild, we will be rewarded handsomely. The leader of the guild, a large man, pointed at Arthur and shouted at me to keep my hands to myself. His men are also licking their lips as they count the money. They may have mistaken him for a monster because of the horns on his head. But the Akuma Neko brothers, or, as they are called, have black and white speckled armor like pandas, but I wonder if they have developed a love for pandas. Arthur, on the other hand, seems to recognize both pandas and is angry about something. You are one of the guys who tried to destroy my house a while ago, aren't you? If you interfere with me anymore, I will punish you. It's rare that you can speak human words. I'll make him a pet instead of killing him, ha ha ha. We might be able to sell him for a lot of money, so we'll show him some power and take him alive, ha ha. Arthur advised them not to disturb him anymore since they were trying to break the log house and yelling before we came. However, they takes no heed of such advice and draws their weapon and surrounds Arthur. Oni, that child, can't you help? Hanano is looking at Arthur with concern, but even if he is up against 10 opponents, Arthur, with his high level of skill and specialist in interpersonal battles, will not fall behind. I'm more worried about the pandas. If he tries to do too much, I'll have to stop him. Don't kill him, just break his limbs, let's go. This weak-looking guy is a piece of cake, Allah, eh? He jumped, panda number 1 and number 2 jumped at him with maces raised, but he dodged and floated away without even looking at the attackers, that magic circle. Come on chappie, as soon as the magic was activated, it was transferred to the stone floor of the hall, and a huge magic circle of about 5 meters in diameter floated up, emitting a reddish-black light. It was a manual activation of the summoning magic. The entire hall vibrates, and the pandas and Hanano are scurrying around, wondering what is going on with this unusual situation. Key, what appeared from the center of the magic circle was a white spider about 20 centimeters long, disproportionate to its size. Its eyes, arranged in 2 vertical rows, are bright red like rubies, and it has a plump body with a rounded form. But there's something wrong with it. It was a monster with a huge concentration of magical power. The concentration of magic was so high that it scared the shit out of me. But is this white spider a new kind of monster? I've never seen one before. The magic circle that was just mentioned was undoubtedly from the Arachne monarch, the highest level of summoning magic in the Arachne family. The monster level is 70, which is not as high as the summons used by other top players, but it can use a buff to greatly increase its speed and a debuff to reduce the speed of surrounding enemies, making it the preferred summoner for speed-conscious players. But the Arachne monarch, I knew was a 2-meter white spider with the upper body of an adult woman growing out of it, which is exactly what Arachne looked like. Nevertheless, what Arthur summoned was a spider of such a size that it could be easily grasped with one hand, and the upper half of a woman's body was nowhere to be seen. It's white, so it seems certain to be of the royal species. TL. I am disappointed, Chappie, I want you to circle all the guys in black armor. Chappie, what are you doing? The white spider moves at blinding speed when it receives instructions, and it uses the white threads it spews out to entangle the pandas one after the other. From its speed, it seems to be about the speed of a monster level 30, but it clearly has not reached that of a monster level 70. It is possible that it has been significantly weakened like my vacuum split impact. Enjigo, let go of me, I'll show no mercy the next time I see you, bye-bye then, eject. The manual activation calls up something like a whirling black gate, and the pandas tied up with strings are thrown in one after the other. Eject is a magic to escape from the dungeon, but it is also a useful skill to throw away things in the way like this. Hanano and my parents are stunned by the speedy and unexpected end. It must have been Arthur's way of taking it easy on them that he summoned that spider and drove those pandas back unharmed. After throwing everything away, he gave the order to return home, and the spider dissolved into a whirlpool of light. In the middle of the quiet hall, Arthur was drooping. He had hoped to meet a complete stranger, an adventurer, talk with him, and get to know him, but his hopes were sorely mistaken. But I had a point to make. Arthur, adventurers here don't dive into dungeons for the fun of it. Most of them are egomaniacs who seek wealth and fame. Setting up in a place like this will only cause more trouble. Yeah, that's probably true, but I thought it was a good idea. The way of thinking of the players who dug dungeons in Dun X and the adventurers in this world are very different. If you were wrong about that, you will probably get your feet swept off your feet someday. However, Arthur, who has never seen the outside world, might be forgiven for his misunderstanding. As if to blow away the heavy atmosphere, Hanano, her eyes shining brightly, came dashing in. What kind of magic is that white spider? It was flying too, wasn't it? Hanano took the dejected Arthur's hands in hers and repeatedly called out how amazing it was. Arthur, on the other hand, looks up and instantly breaks into a face which says like, this is no big deal. He begins to boast with a face like he's not even satisfied. You're a man who's on a roll, aren't you? Chapter 107 The Narumi Family and Spider. The Narumi family and a lone spider move about a dry area with only sparse weeds, chatting. I'm surprised that summoning magic can do this, but what kind of skill is this katakana middle dot that you're getting into? KY, Hanano poked and prodded at the white spider on my shoulder, and after a brief argument in the 20th floor hall, Arthur insisted on going with me. However, due to the restriction of a demon that prevents him from freely coming and going in and out of the map, he cannot follow me to the 21st floor, which is my destination. Therefore, he uses his skill to borrow the 5 senses of the summoner to move around the spider. Arthur the spider seems to want to say something to Hanano, but he is a version of Arachne without vocal cords, so he cannot speak. Therefore, he squeaks at her and pleads with me to explain to her what is going on. It's a skill that summoned beasts learn, called possession. It can be used for scouting and other purposes, but small summons are usually weak, and large summons with high fighting ability are difficult to move around. In addition, in the possessed State, you can only use the summoner's skills, so it's a difficult skill to use. Wow, it's interesting that he can become various types of summons. The flight type might be interesting, but the summoner has a limited number of skill slots, so not many people will keep the possession skill. The biggest advantage of summoning magic is that it can fight together with the summoner, but when you throw that away, it has to be a dead skill, and it was so worthless that I had forgotten about it, but it seems to have many uses in this world. The summoner does not die, so there is no danger, and even in areas where Arthur's body cannot enter, Arachne's body can enter like this. It's a good thing he didn't turn it off. Key. Arthur the spider expresses his joy by standing on 4 legs and dexterously tapping with the other 4 legs. I wonder how he moves his body, so I'll ask him later. By the way, the main body of the spider is safe at the base on the 38th floor, where no one comes. I wonder if I can learn how to do this. You can use summoning magic, summoner, but you'll have to learn a number of magic-related jobs to get there. I thought Hanano was going to master the thief-type jobs before then? That's right, I have to work on this one first. With that spider by my side, my father and my mother slowly followed. The temperature and humidity are not too high, and a fresh breeze is blowing, so it's very comfortable. I wonder if we are really in a dungeon. Yes, it is a little different. There are no walls, the ceiling is blue, and we can't see any monsters attacking us. My mother and father are walking close together, carrying a large leather bag on their backs. It's like a picnic in this field map. As long as they don't take the wrong route, they can move around without encountering active monsters that attack aggressively. In the distance, a group of rhinoceros-like monsters with 2 horns can be seen grazing on the grass. They are not active monsters, but even if we can attack first, they are not suitable for hunting because they have a lot of HP and are sure to link up with their friends around them. There is a bird-shaped monster flying alone in the sky that looks as small as a pea. It is a large bird with a wingspan of nearly 5 meters, but it appears small only because it is flying at such a high altitude. At that height, ordinary magic and arrows cannot reach it, so it cannot be hunted by ordinary means. What can be hunted, then, is a giant man-eating lizard called Mamu, which pops up if you walk down the main street leading to the 22nd floor. They drop delicious meat that I had with tenma-san before, so I would like to hunt a few of them if I see them. But today's target is different from these. After walking for another 30 minutes or so, looking at the scenery, we saw reddish-brown sand dunes ahead of us. I wondered if that desert-like place was the destination Oni had mentioned. Key. Arthur the spider shouted as if to say yes and jumped out from my shoulder, and Hanano joined him in running. The dunes themselves are not that large, about 1 kilometer square at most. We find a nearby rock formation of suitable size and make it our campsite. After setting down our luggage and taking out what we needed for the hunt, we had a strategy meeting. I'll explain the worm hunt, and you listen to me. Are there any worms in this dry place? All I see are rocks and sand. Dad and Mom questioned whether worms could be found here as they usually are in a more watery area. There are a few large rocks scattered in front of us, but other than that, everything else is sand. It is natural to think so, as there is no sign of any monsters, let alone plants. Hanano is checking the sand in her hand to see if there really are worms in such a place. But the monster she was looking for was also lurking in the sand. Hanano, don't go into the sand, it might attack you. In this sand? Yes, watch. I took out one carrion from the skin bag placed on the floor, hooked it onto the wire I had brought with me, and tossed it. Less than 30 seconds of waiting. The sand moved slowly, and the carrion was dragged into the sand with great vigor. After confirming the bite, I pulled the wire. It's a monster, level 21 sandworm. It was a little over 2 meters long and about 30 centimeters thick. The monster, undulating like an earthworm, was fished out. It weighs well over 100 kilograms, but with my current physical capabilities, I have no problem with that. When I pulled it to the top of the rock, it bounced around like a live fish. It's huge. I thought they were smaller since you called them worms. Hanano and Arthur the spider approached and peeked in. It has a round mouth like a sucker, but if you look closely, you will see that it has spiraling fangs inside, which is grotesque. Normally, it is a ferocious monster that hides in the sand, biting and dragging its prey above it, but once it is on the bedrock, it cannot escape by diving, and is merely a giant worm that bounces around. Just hit it, but watch out for the mouth. Daddy, let's go. Ah, the mace and the big sword that my mom and dad had respectively are swung down. There was almost no risk because they could attack unilaterally. I joined in and beat them to a pulp, but the worm eventually stopped moving and turned into a magic stone. Hanano picks up the magic stone and tilts her head. It's a big magic stone, but doesn't it drop anything else? It is rare, but it drops sandworm stomach, which is used to make magic bags. We can make good money by selling them. I know someone in the guild who said that the magic bag is the stomach of something, but I wonder if he meant sandworms. Sandworms can eat a volume many times larger than their own body, and this is because their stomachs are equipped with the characteristic of space contraction. The magic bag made from the stomach can also hold more volume than it looks, making it an indispensable item for a top adventurer's dungeon dive. But why can't magic bags be cheaper when they are so easy to defeat? KY. My mother told me that even the cheapest items would cost several million yen to buy from the Adventurers Guild, and the larger ones would cost more than 10 million yen. Since the price at Dun X was only a couple of dollars, Arthur was not convinced why it was so expensive. I think it's partly because the easy way to defeat them, by fishing them out with carrion, isn't widely available to the average adventurer, but I suspect it's because the sandworms pop up in regular areas because they're lower down the hierarchy. This area of sand dunes is an extended area that was added as DLC, so it is an area that normal adventurers cannot come to because of recognition blockage. The sandworms pop in the normal map only after the 25th floor, but only a handful of adventurers who are surrounded by a conquering clan or a great noble can dive that far. On top of that, it takes nearly a month to get there and back, making most drop items more expensive. The other thing is that sometimes you can catch a giant worm in the lottery pop-up, *1. When that one gets caught, we all pull it up. Giant worms? Are there bigger ones than the one we just caught? There is a rare monster that can only be caught once a day, but no one else has been here but us, and it must be in that sand. The magic bag made from its stomach is not only lighter in capacity but also in weight, so I definitely want to get my hands on one. The magic bag made from sandworms may be smaller in capacity, but it still weighs the same, so carrying it around is tiring, and the skin itself is not that strong, so there is a risk of tearing the skin if you stuff things in it badly. On the other hand, Giant Worm's magic bag is stronger and lighter, so it is possible to stuff 100 kilograms of armor in its pockets. The bag is also lightweight, so you can stuff 100 kilograms of armor into its pockets. I don't remember seeing a bag on the market that weighs less. It's amazing. It's going to fetch a hell of a price. It might even be designated a national treasure. Key. I also wonder how much it will be worth if I sell it. Mother, Hanano, and Arthur the spider's eyes lit up. Then, let's make a lot of money by killing lots of them. Well, I brought a lot of carrion. Here you go, Arthur-chan. Knowing that they will make money, Hanano gives the order, and the cash-strapped Narumi family hurriedly hooks carrion on the wire. Arthur, too, is handed a wire by his mother and joins in the fishing. Aran's body is only about the size of my outstretched hand, but he is strong and should be fine. No one else was fishing for worms, so the fish were biting as soon as I tossed them out. If we are catching this many worms, I am sure we will catch the giant worm soon. Arthur also set the carrion on the wire and tossed it while dexterously moving his body. Key. Whenever someone caught a fish, everyone would slap it and get the drops and stones, and it would be around the time when we had killed about 30 of them. As we were tying up the next carrion, Arthur the spider started squealing loudly. He had his little white legs pinned to the bedrock and was pulling frantically with his mouth on a wire that looked like it was about to tear off. The tension of the wire made me think it was most likely a giganto worm. Pull on Arthur's wire. I got it. Here we go. That's a lot of power. How big is that thing? When we pull the wire with all our might, a huge mouth about 1 meter long appears. From that size, the body under the sand would be well over 5 meters. The sandstorm is so thick that it is darkening my vision as if it is rampaging in the sand. Sota, are you sure this wire will work? The wire can tow a large vehicle, so it should be fine. But it's going to take a long time at this rate. Mom, do that. My father worried about the strength of the wire as he pulled sand out of his mouth, but we had bought a strong wire in anticipation of the gigantic worm. But the resistance was unexpectedly strong. It looked like it was going to be a long battle, and Hanano begged our mother to support us. Then, let's start with you, Arthur-chan. Open double angle bracket strength I close double angle bracket. When the mother waved the short stick at her waist like a baton, Arthur the spider glowed red. The strength I only raises STR by 20%, but even so, it clearly boosts the pulling power. When she finishes buffing everyone, like in the story of pulling out the big turnip, heisha, and everyone timed their pulls to coincide. Finally, the whole body of the giant worm appeared. Gua, ooh, it's huge, it's totally different from what I saw before. Key, the gigantic tree-sized giant worm was launched into the air, blowing sand up into the air. It was about 7 meters long, and it was going banging around so wildly that one had to be careful when approaching it. Hanano and Arthur looked up and marveled at it. Monster level 26, this must be floor boss level by now. Hit it so it doesn't get underneath again. Alright, let's go. My father, who checked it out with his open double angle bracket appraise close double angle bracket magical tool, was amazed at the monster level of the giant worm. It was at least a size bigger than the one I had seen at Dunex, perhaps because no one had caught it. I thought the 4 of us could have made it, but if it was this huge, it would have been impossible without Arthur. The day's hunt was a great success, with about 200 sandworms and a giganto worm stomach successfully caught. Arthur is going to help me hunt for worms for a while, so feel free to ask for his help. Tomorrow it's back to school. If things go according to the game, there will be a series of important events at the school. I believe that the best way to get through the events is to stay out of sight and out of mind, but I'm not going to skimp on that since I'll be like this air as long as I act as I normally would. I would like to ask Arthur's help for further events, and then in return I'll find a way to lift the demon's restriction as soon as possible. *1. Lottery pops. *1. When an enemy reappears, there is a certain probability that a different monster will appear. In many cases, rarer monsters appear. In the case of the giant worm, once a monster appears in a day, there is a limit of 24 hours after that it will not pop. Chapter 108 The 8 Dragon Council. It is a luxurious room with stylish lighting and a large Persian carpet. In the center of the room, there is a U-shaped table with 5 people facing each other at a distance. Then, it's time to start the regular meeting. The 5 people are facing each other at a distance from each other. Seated at the far end of the room is Sagara and Akazane, who are the heads of the student council and in charge of all the Hachiryu. He is a special figure, handling funds on the order of 10 billion yen and having a large say in the affairs of the faculty and the Adventurers Guild. With a sharp glint in his eyeglasses, he announces the start of the meeting. Today's agenda is the election scheduled for the end of the month. Wait, Sagara, it's usual that the brawlers are not coming, but what about the archery club and the Class A alliance? As Sagara was about to state his agenda, a large, muscular man with a beard and goatee interrupted to say that they were not all here yet. He was Tachibana Sakin, the head of the First Swordsmanship Club, and one of the 8 dragons. He is a great swordsman who is said to be the best in melee combat at the Adventurer School. It seems that the Anti-Personnel Research Department Katakana middle. Is not interested in today's agenda. The archery club decided not to participate, saying there was no point in participating if the kids they were recommending wouldn't pass. Tadahana's question was answered by a petite woman with long red hair braided and hanging down the side. She is the head of the First Magic Club, and also a member of the Hachiryu, 8 Dragons, Ashikiya Toha. Although she is only a second-year student, she is a prodigy in the field of magic who has made a name for herself not only at the Adventurer School but also throughout the world with her exceptional talent. It is undeniably due to her fame that the First Magic Club has rapidly become more influential in the 8 Dragons over the past year or two. To the right of her chair stands a large staff with a purple jewel at its head that emits a mysterious magic power. Incidentally, fighter or brawlers is a derogatory term for Hachiryu's Interpersonal Research Club. So the next student body president will be decided by these 5 factions? It seems so. It's a shame that the Hachiryu are not all present at such an important meeting. A tall, somewhat pale and frail man agrees with Tadahana. He is Tsukasa Horaishi, the head of the Weapons Research Department, and one of the Hachiryu. The Weapons Research Club is a club that makes, collects, and studies weapons. With the strong backing of the Harai family, one of Japan's richest aristocrats, the club is attracting attention as an up-and-coming faction that has gathered people, goods, and money and has risen to the rank of the 8 Dragons. It has a number of workshop circles under its umbrella. Sagara, the student council president, forces the meeting to proceed while glaring at the members of the 8 Dragons. Let's continue. I have received the names of the candidates for the next student body president and will announce them now. Keigo Ashikaga of the second-year class, nominated by the First Swordsman's Club and Second Swordsman's Club. The other is Sarah Kikyo, a first-year student nominated by the First Magic Club, the Weaponry Club, and the Thief Club. Hey, I told you that first year is too early. Tadahana of the First Swordsman's Club bangs on the table and shouting in protest. He gave the most common reason for this is that the 8 Dragons have a lot to offer and there is no way they will listen to what the first years have to say. However, a voice of protest immediately rises up in opposition. Everyone has admired Ms. Sarah's achievements since junior high school, right? Besides, she is a special being with the blood of a saint. She has more than enough family status and ability to stand above us all. Yes, I've only been here a year, but that support capability is remarkable, isn't it? I've only seen that armor, which is designated as a national treasure, once, but I was really amazed. The First Magic Department's Ashiki immediately turns to Sarah's defense without pausing to take a breath. Following Ashiki, Harai of the Weapons Research Club also turns to Sarah's defense. He praises Sarah Kikyo with an enraptured expression on his face, explaining how great her weapons are and praising her without hesitation. When the clerk wrote on the whiteboard, Keigo Ashikaga, 1 vote, Kikyo Sarah, 3 votes, Tadahana became overtly unhappy upon seeing this and let out a low, snarling voice while emitting a dense open double-angle bracket or a close double-angle bracket. You guys, under what conditions did you collude? Hey, Thief Department, why don't you say something, too? Please put away your depressing and annoying aura. I did not intend to recommend a female student named Sarah Kikyo. I only said that she would be fine because of the hassle of choosing. What's that? Then, you should support Ashikaga, who I'm supporting. That's 2 votes each, even. She has long wavy azure hair, dignified and strong eyes, and a small nose. She is Karara Kusunoki aka Kunoichi, the head of the Thief Research Club, and one of the 8 Dragons in Class A of the second year. Outside of school, Ashiki Atoha's name is more well-known among the second-year students, but she has competed with Ashiki for the top spot on many occasions in school exams, and is considered by her peers to be among the best of the top 2. She is also a member of the Thief Research Club, which includes many nobles and club members, so even though she is only a second-year student, she has a large voice in the Hachiryu. When she is confronted with Tadahana's aura, which is said to be the highest level in the Adventurer School, she brushes it away with a black feather fan in her hand and says irritably, "It's so annoying. We're not getting anywhere. They called the candidates anyway, didn't they? Why don't you let them speak in front of us and decide? Hey, you two, get in here." Harai suggested that they listen to the candidates and make a decision, and Tadahana shouted at them to come in. Kusunoki raised her eyebrows at the coarse language used to call the candidates. The heavy door of the conference room opens, and the first to enter is a slender male student with muscles rising around his neck and shoulders. He has a Japanese sword at his waist and walks like a soldier. He is Keigo Ashikaga, whom Tadahana recommended. The next student to enter the room was Sarah Kikyo, a first-year student with shiny silver hair that reached almost to her waist and a graceful gait. Even though the 8 dragons were all looking at her sharply, she did not seem nervous at all, but rather, her large violet eyes were shining and she was even smiling. We're a little ahead of schedule, but that's okay. Let's introduce ourselves. Ashikaga first. Yes, sir. Sagara checked their faces and gave the order to the male student first. Ashikaga stepped forward, folded his hands behind his back, and stretched out his chest. The gold badge of nobility on his breast pocket glittered as he did so. I'm Ashikaga, second year, Class A. I have no intention of subjugating the 8 dragons, but to make the name of this great adventurer school known throughout the world, while maintaining the uniqueness of each faction. I believe that is what I must accomplish. He is second only to me in swordsmanship in his second year. If he doesn't become the president, I intend to make him the next head of the first swordsman club. The fact that he finished his self-introduction without flinching in the face of Hachiryu's silent pressure certainly indicates that he is not an ordinary student. According to Tadahana's supplementary information, he is also the second best swordsman after Tadahana, the head of the department. Even if he does not become the student council president, he is a legitimate son of a prestigious aristocrat who is sure to join the next 8 dragons. His thinking is conservative. Although he is an elite student who was a member of the student council in his first year and has excellent grades, there is no denying that he is inferior to Ashiki and Kusunoki, who are also second-year students. The next step is for Sarah to step forward after bowing lightly. It is my destiny to be the student body president. I can only accept it. Fate, the eye that is famous in the rumors? Yes, it is. I have the power to see into the future with my Tengen-su, heavenly eyes. The eyes are violet now, but when the power is used, they turn a fiery red and are said to be able to see the future of people and events with great accuracy. This is a well-known skill that is known to all of the members of the 8 dragons present here. In addition, during her junior high school years, she was always in the top of the class, outclassing Suo Kuki, who wielded a transformable sword, and Tenma Akira, who possessed both monstrous strength and natural melee skills. She is also grandchild of the founder of Japanese adventurers, Saint, and is even considered the heir to the title of Saint because of her talent. After Sarah's greeting, Ashiki stood up and praised Sarah, clapping loudly. Your ability and background are outstanding, and your pedigree and family are impeccable. I would even be willing to give up my position as head of the club right away if she would join our first magic club. Sarah-san is more than capable. I have no choice but to nominate her as the next student body president. Ashikaga seems to be doing a little better, but compared to Sarah, he's still not as good as her. We, the Weapons Research Club, will do our best to support him. Ashiki and Harai raised their hands in praise. There are already rumors that a number of factions have been in contact with Sarah, but if anyone were to look at the scene, the first Magic Club and the Weapons Research Club would be the first to suspect with good relationships with Sarah. Tadahana remains grumpy, while Kusunoki looks out the window, seemingly uninterested. By the way, who do you think the student council is going to nominate? And the Thief Club was working so hard last year to elect the next student council president, but this year, they haven't done anything this year. Are there any other students you are interested in? Harai is suspicious of the lack of action by the student council and the Thief Research Club. The next student body president election is a major event that will determine the fate of every faction, but it's strange that they haven't shown any interest in the 2 candidates. He tries to find out from Sagara's and Kusunoki's expressions whether there might be other students they are interested in. The student council has not yet decided who to recommend for the position, but speaking of curious, what did you say his name was? He looked at Kusunoki's face. Well, I am very interested to hear that you are interested, Sagara-sama. Who is it? Hearing this, Ashiki falls forward. Akazane Sagara, the student council president, is a genius who is capable of competing with Ashiki in magic and Tadahana in martial arts, and has never received a grade other than first in his academic performance. How good is this person that Sagara is interested in? Not only Ashiki, but everyone present here begins to search their own memories. The reason is that if the student council, which has the most power in 8 dragons, recommends him, it may have a great influence on the election of the next student body president. The first year, is it her, Tenma? I have a great deal of respect for the Dukes brand of weapons made by the Tenma Trading Company, but she's the one that we in the Weapons Research Department are after. The first year students are not too strong, but Suo has been offered a place in the first Swordsman's Club, so don't mess with him. But wouldn't even Sagara-sama come up with a name for a first-year student in that area right away? The names of the eminent first-year players such as Tenma, Suo, and Takamura are all well known to those who lead the Hachiyu. Kusunoki said that if he couldn't name any of them immediately, then it must be someone else, but suddenly she looked aghast and kept her mouth shut. It seems that she has an idea of who it is. Kusunoki, if you know, please don't keep it a secret, tell me. Thief Club, are you also going after the first-year boy that Sagara says he's interested in? Ha ha ha, we've discovered the existence of an extraordinary rookie from an unexpected source. They discuss this and that, but no one comes to mind, and a stalemate ensues. If it is not one of the people mentioned earlier, then it could be someone, perhaps from the E-class katakana middle dot katakana middle dot. The one who interrupted was Sarah Kikyo. The next person to her, Ashikaga, widened his eyes and whispered bitterly, "What are you thinking?" interrupting a conversation between the 8 dragons. Tadahana, however, raised a thick eyebrow when she heard Sarah's opinion, and without hiding her annoyance, he attacked him. Don't be ridiculous, the first-year E-class are just commoner who were level 1 just a few months ago. Where is there anything to pay attention to? That's for sure. Is it true, Kusunoki-san? I also find it hard to believe that there are large rookies among the E-class commoners. Not only talented nobles, but even if they are not nobles, if they are truly talented, the Japanese government will issue a letter of recommendation for an adventurer's junior high school, so they should be able to enter the school. On the other hand, those who enter the E-class from high school are only reasonably talented for a commoner, and their talents are inferior to those of the junior high school students. This is the general and common sense view of E-class among those involved in the adventurer's school. Hence, Sarah's opinion is unacceptable to the aristocratic faction, but Harai and Ashiki grew suspicious of Kusunoki's silent attitude and demanded to know his name. However, Kusunoki kept her mouth shut and her face turned away. The discussion was supposed to be about the next student body president, but the conversation got sidetracked and the confusion did not seem to subside. Sagara sighed that he had said something unnecessary and announced the end of the meeting. I think we should give it some time, Sagara said. Let's set up another meeting for later, and Kusunoki, I have a few things I want to go over with you later. It's a coincidence that I also want to ask some things too, Sagara-sama, but I have no intention of giving him up. Amidst all the mixed feelings, there was only one person who looked longingly at the distance. It's Kikyo Sarah. Classy, so you have a hidden talent that I haven't seen yet. I have to go and burn it into my eyes later. Please wait, my hero, Sama. Chapter 109 Always in place. You want me to keep everything in Devil's Castle a secret? If you say so, of course I'll keep it a secret. I am in the back seat of a long black limousine. To my left sits Tenma-san, a girl covered in metal from head to toe. It is shiny and polished again today, reflecting the morning sunlight and very dazzling. On the right side of the room, a beautiful maid with long, shiny black hair, a catsuit, and a well-fitted maid's outfit is sitting across from me. She is Kurosaki-san, the head butler who heads the Black Butler, the family butler of the Tenma family. I would like to say that it suits her very well, but she whispered to me in a whisper, if you touch the young lady even a little, your life will end immediately, which made me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to end my life yet, so I try my best not to touch her, but even though it's a large limousine, it's quite uncomfortable to have 3 people sitting in a row. But I was surprised to see you back to your previous state after looking so slim when you came back from the dungeon. Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. I just ate a little too much. I see. I have a habit of overeating too, so I have to be careful too. I show her that I'm okay by patting my magnificent drum belly, which has been restored. It was a shock to Tenma-san, who is very interested in talking about dieting, and she even froze in a funny pose when she saw me. By the way, it's summer vacation, let's go hunting together. I think I can dive with Narumi to a pretty good depth. No way, I will never dive with the beast like him. Fufufu looks like Kurosaki misunderstands Narumi somehow. Well, I hope you'll think about it. The most common practice for adventurer school students is to make a long dungeon dive plan during the summer vacation. In Tenma's case, she had been diving with her black butlers until last year, but this summer she invites me to dive with her. Hearing this, the butler-in-chief is puffing up, declaring, I'll never let them be alone. But it's summer vacation. I don't have any plans to do anything for now. I think I'll just go dungeon diving with my family or Satsuki and my friends as usual, so I have time, but if I dive without using the gate, I'm sure I'll be detained for more than a month, which would be a huge waste of time for the round trip. Unless we can do something about that problem, I'm not sure I'd go with her. No, we can go if we can get Arthur to let us use the gate. I remember when Arthur first appeared. Normally, the open double-angle bracket gate closed double-angle bracket exit can only be designated outside the dungeon or in the gate room, but for some reason Arthur made a open double-angle bracket gate closed double-angle bracket exit in the center of the cathedral hall and came out. Perhaps he knows how to create a gate at an arbitrary location. If we use that, I should be able to get to the 20th floor with Tenma-san and her companion in one fell swoop. Besides, I have several reasons for wanting to dive with Tenma-san. One is that I want to break the curse, and the other is that Arthur has repeatedly told me by email and phone to bring in Tenma-san. He wants to have a cooperative relationship like me and Satsuki. To do so, it is a prerequisite that we share some of the player's knowledge. When I went underwater a while ago, I found a place full of mamu. I could eat as much as I wanted. This year, I want to eat it with Narumi. Oh, milady, think back to how hard you had to work to lose weight after that. I still vividly remember the image of Tenma-san, who was laughing happily and talking happily next to me, but who did not abandon me in the face of the lesser demon, but risked her life to protect me. There is no doubt that she is a person worthy of trust, and I have no objection to handing over my player knowledge. However, player knowledge, including gate knowledge, is a dangerous thing that can have a tremendous impact if leaked and can put even aristocrats in a dangerous situation. We must proceed with caution when we bring them on our side. I would like to get together with Lisa and Arthur as soon as possible to discuss this. Thank you, I'll keep that in mind. Also, Tenma-san, thank you for bringing me, but I think I can manage by myself. I hope I didn't bother you. Actually, there was a bit of a commotion earlier. I was getting ready to go to school when the chime rang, so I opened the door and answered it to find a dozen butlers wearing sunglasses standing in the doorway, staring at me. There were 5 black luxury cars parked in front of the house, including this limousine, and neighbors and people on the street were gathering to see what was going on. The butlers grabbed me by the arm and forced me into the back seat, where I found Tenma-san sitting. She told me that she would pick me up every day from now on as a friend, but my house was less than a 5-minute walk from the school, and I was a little uncomfortable with the idea of this kind of commotion going on every day. So, I decided to softly decline the offer. All right, but anytime you want me to come pick you up, just let me know, okay? I'm glad for that feeling alone. To her right, Kurosaki-san was busy shaking her fist up and down, saying things like, I never thought anyone would refuse young lady's invitation, no, but now we can keep our distance from the beast. See you later. With that, I got out of the car and watched the limousine dashing away. Behind me stood my childhood friend Kaworu, who had been watching me with a staring eye. What shall I say? It's Tenma Akira from Class A, isn't it? You seem to be getting along pretty well. We hit it off at the interclass competition the other day. We became friends. She's a noblewoman with a long history of friends. Are you okay with that? The aristocrats are the object of admiration for the common people because they are the upper class of society, but at the same time, they are also a symbol of fear, willing to wield their power and suppress the common people whenever they do not like it. Even if we could get along with each other now, there is no telling when she might change her mind, and even if she does not change her mind, the people around her will not allow such a relationship. Therefore, Kaworu warns me in a roundabout way that we, as common people, should not easily approach aristocrats. Certainly, that's what people usually think and that's probably the correct answer, but at the very least, I don't intend to leave until I break the curse of Tenma-san. Nevertheless, it would be better to refrain from casually interacting with Tenma-san in front of everyone watching to avoid causing unnecessary trouble. But, Sota has changed. A little while ago, he was not even trying to get along with anyone, but rather he didn't even have a proper conversation with anyone but me. Kaworu recalls me from her junior high school days. Back then, I was a sulky, isolated person who didn't let anyone get to know me. Butao in the game was like that, so it's not hard to imagine. But when Kaworu talked about the old days, as he had a complicated expression on her face, both smiling and looking a little sad, I'm sure that Kaworu hated me in junior high school, but I think I caught a glimpse of something more complicated than that. Let's get going, we're already running very late. Kaworu started walking, and I quickly grabbed my bag and followed her. This is our usual positions. It is already the end of June, and in most years it would have been the beginning of the rainy season, but the sky is clear and cloudless. The temperature has been high since early in the morning, which is a bit hard on my fat body. Chapter 110 E-Class Hero. Here he is, our hero. You're good, Butao. I think I've got a little bit of a new outlook on life. When I arrived at the classroom, some of my classmates greeted me with applause, calling me a hero. I was told that it was because the points I earned in the interclass competition allowed me to win the D class. I've been treated like an airhead, a liability at best, and now I'm suddenly getting an itch in my ass when people look at me with a favorable attitude, but I'm also hearing more voices of disapproval. You just went along for the ride, didn't you? I wish I had chosen it. I would have been the real hero. I should have chosen it too. If all I have to do is follow everyone else, I can do it too. Don't let all this praise get to your head. You're still a Butao. In the class competition, everyone ran around the dungeon in tatters, trying desperately to do their best for the class. It was not uncommon for them to fight a series of battles with monsters under extreme conditions, with minimal food and sleeping in small groups on the rock face. So, they were always saying that they were not convinced that those who just followed the higher classes without doing any fighting should be treated as heroes. It was true that other classes had killed all the monsters by the time we reached the 20th floor, and I just stood in the back and watched them. We didn't encounter any difficult situations, except for the last one. At the Pig's Tail Pavilion, I was treated to a sumptuous meal, and I even went home and slept on the bed a few times along the way. I don't feel guilty at all. But hey, Butao, were you okay with the monster pressure aura? The one who put his hand on my shoulder and spoke to me while looking in the direction of the day after tomorrow was Tsukishima Takuya-kun, whose trademark is his blonde long hair. I was surprised to see him in the classroom because I had never seen him talk to anyone other than his good friends or Kaworu. Everyone was fighting it at a distance. The monster's aura hardly reached me. I guess that's about it. I worked hard to get a big magic stone for Kaworu, and you're just a mob, so don't be a big jerk, get in my way. While saying that, Tsukishima kicked my ass and sat down in his seat looking bored. It seems that he wanted to show Kaworu his good side by becoming number 1 in the magic stone category, but good luck katakana middle dot, just how much was the magic stone that he got? If I can understand that, I may be able to understand Tsukishima-kun's approximate level. Let's secretly try to gather more information later. Sota, good morning, Hiro-kun. As I took my seat at the far end of the classroom and hooked my bag next to the desk, I saw her slender legs stretched out from her skirt and moderately fleshy thighs. I look up to see Satsuki and Lisa smiling at me. To be honest, it was a relief to see them smiling at me as usual. Even though you played such an active role, everyone's attitude was rude. Everyone is so selfish, foo-foo, but isn't it convenient for Sota? I guess she saw what they just did. As a petty person, I'm just too embarrassed to be treated like a hero, and I think it's just fine to get my ass kicked. You went along with the training, didn't you? How were they? I was surprised to see that all 4 of them have such a high level of fighting sense. And I also promised to help them level up only on Saturdays. Satsuki and Lisa invited Akaji, Tachiki, Kaworu, and Pink-chan to accompany them for training. They shared their basic knowledge and gave them tactical guidance before they started power leveling. Since power leveling involves killing monsters in large numbers and efficiently, it is common practice to coach them beforehand to make sure they know their roles and positions to avoid accidents. Power leveling is usually only available to aristocrats or those who pay a high commission fee, so naturally, this was Akaji and his team's first experience. It would be a good idea to have at least one preliminary training session. Satsuki says that they actually tried hitting each other during the tactical instruction. She was surprised at how quickly the four of them absorbed the techniques and their fighting sense exceeded her expectations. Well, they are the main characters party and their basic performance is top class among the characters in the game. No wonder Shish 3 was surprised. And it seems that power leveling with the demon wolf on the 7th floor has already been decided this weekend. For normal hunting, it would be quicker to hunt golems in the DLC expansion area, but for power leveling, it would be more convenient to use the demon wolf, which can be caught and collected in large numbers. For later use, we would like them to reach level 10 by the summer vacation, especially since Akaji-kun can be the trigger for various events such as Tenma's unraveling event. The earlier he levels up, the more time I can afford, and Akaji-kun's strength will improve the atmosphere in E-class, which is also a secondary goal. I see, I will actively support you, I'll be happy for the help. I guess we're still collecting armor for everyone? We can finally do whack-a-mole on the 15th floor, but the speed at which we collect materials is very slow. I have a lot of mithril alloys, so I'll give them to you. Invitation for a date, Fufu. Satsuki's group can play whack-a-mole, but they still can't beat Bloody Baron, so it's difficult for them to collect enough mithril alloys to supply Akaji and his friends. If that's the case, I could give away part of our large inventory. While we were reporting on the current situation, the corridor suddenly became noisy. I could even hear voices mixed with screams. Did something happen? My classmates stopped talking and turned their attention to the entrance to the classroom. Move! The sliding door of the classroom was violently opened, and a group of students wearing jerseys and holding wooden swords threw two male students in. For a moment I didn't recognize them because they were lying on their stomachs, but I thought they were Akaji and Mishima with that red hair and square cut. If I look closely, I can see that their faces are swollen and their arms and legs are covered with scars and bruises. It was as if they had been sandbagged until they couldn't stand on their legs and feet anymore. Everyone was watching with bated breath at the sudden and spectacular event. Moreover, it was the leader of the E-class who had been beaten. Some of the students were so horrified to see the two of them being beaten together that they were about to cry out in fear. What are we going to do? We're under strict orders to find him. If Ashikaga-san loses his temper, I'm really scared. What should I tell him? But we're running out of time. We'll have to come back once we're done and start over. The intruders have the words Second Swordsmanship Club embroidered on their chests. Although they are not nobles, they are a group of talented individuals who are easily above level 10. What was the reason for capturing these two, who were still only level 6, and inflicting so much pain on them? Or rather, who is Ashikaga? Hey, you, for acting so haughty at the end you told us about people who were such a small fry. Next time you lie to me, you'll get a free ride. I'll be back for more. Don't run away. The members of the Second Swordsmanship Club were leaving as if to throw up while banging on the floor with wooden swords in their hands. As soon as they are out of sight, Pink rushes over to them and Satsuki says, I'm going to get the infirmary doctor, and leaves the classroom. Tachiki-kun is asking around to see if there is anyone who might know what's going on in order to assess the situation. Those people asked me who the strongest guys in this class are, and I told them Akaji and Mishima's names, but I didn't expect them to go this far. The Second Swordsmanship Club, we are no match for them even if we were to stand on our heads. What did they want to do? Once Yuma's injuries have healed, I will listen to what happened. The classmate who had said their name was very upset, so Tachiki-kun calmed him down by telling him that he would be fine. Tachiki-kun is very dependable and attentive even at times like this. But what did they want to do when they found out who the strongest guy in our class was? Did they want to draw them to their side? If that was the case, there was no need to tear them to pieces like that, even if it was to test their ability. The way they hurt them, I could sense the maliciousness of their frustration. But what is the reason for that maliciousness? D-class cried against E-class to let them beat us up, but to be honest mere D-class is not going to move the Second Swordsman's Club. I have no idea. Whatever it is, I have to protect Satsuki. It was to protect her classmates, so it was inevitable, but Satsuki has shown some of her ability. If those guys from the Second Sword Club, who are looking for the strongest guy, hear about it, there is a good chance they will make her a target. Even in the game, Satsuki was targeted by upperclassmen and expelled from school, so I should take precautionary measures. While I was thinking about inviting her to the Narumi family's worm hunting tour scheduled for the weekend, Tachiki, who was also thinking about it, called out Lisa's name with a mysterious look on his face, as if he had just thought of something. I need to talk to you later, Nita, about the case, then you might want to move quickly. I understand. I'll talk to Sota. Tadaki-kun says he will move on the matter and Lisa sees what it is and says hello to me. I guess he was talking about the election for the next student body president that he had mentioned in the video chat before. In other words, Tachiki-kun seems to think that the cause of this disturbance is election related. In the game, the election event for the next student body president was supposed to have started in the form of a request, or perhaps an argument, from several factions over the votes of the E-class. I don't think it was in the form of Akaji and Mishima being tossed aside like this. Even with my knowledge of the game, I can't quite wrap my head around the situation. I'd like to know what Tachiki-kun is thinking and how he's going to do it, and I'd like to be part of the mix. Chapter 111 Puppet Student Body President. Give it to me now. Give it to me quickly, damn you how much time you took. It's a little crowded, but I got enough for everyone. Sota went to the trouble of buying them for me. Mishima, think of a better way to say it. It was time for lunch and me, Tachiki-kun, Satsuki and Lisa went to an unpopular place to interview Akaji and Mishima about what happened this morning. If we stayed in the classroom or cafeteria, we might get tangled up with the number 2 Kenjutsu Club again. TL. Swordsman's Club, since we were going to discuss over lunch, I was the least conspicuous purchaser. I was getting jostled around in the purchasing area and managed to secure enough bread and milk for everyone. I was being scolded by Mishima for being late and was quickly handing them out to everyone. To be honest, it wasn't easy to be able to find a way to get the bread and milk for all of them. By the way, Akaji and Mishima's bruises and wounds have almost disappeared after being treated by the teacher, and they only have a few adhesive bandages on them. The two were in such bad shape when they were thrown into the classroom this morning that they couldn't stand up on their own, but with the magic treatment, it didn't take them long at all to be fine. Thanks, your name is? Well, okay, so I was on my way to school when I got caught out of the blue. Then they said, show me what you've got. Me too, I tried to fight back, but I couldn't do anything. After receiving the bread from me, Akaji-kun began to talk about the situation when he was caught. According to him, he was told to show his skills when he left the dormitory, and without knowing why, he was brought to the training ground of the number 2 Kenjutsu Club and beaten up. Mishima, who was very competitive, tried to fight back, but he could not even resist when he was up against several higher-ranked opponents. He was so frustrated that he pounded his fists on the ground. Even if you say ability, they knew the level of the two, didn't you? I showed them the screen of the terminal and told them I was level 6 many times, but they didn't stop questioning me. Someone from E-class shouldn't fake or hide their level. Well, there's also the Omiya's case. Akaji also told the students that he was level 6 on the list, but they didn't seem to believe him. Mishima, on the other hand, looked at Satsuki and wondered. Normally, if you are seen as weak, your position in the school will be weakened, so as soon as your level goes up, you should update your database using the appraisal machine, but Satsuki did not update hers. Lisa suspects that there may be a few students who don't report their levels. Also, when I was getting beat up, they asked me several times who was the strongest guy in Class E. I was like, who's the strongest guy in Class E? At the moment, the strongest among us is Omiya. Isn't it Omiya they're looking for, too? From Mishima-kun's dungeon diving experience, it is unlikely that he could raise his level higher than Satsuki in the short time he has been in the school so far. That is why I assure you that Satsuki is the strongest one in the E class. That would be the case if we didn't have the player. But what is the second swordsman's club targeting Satsuki for? They said it was Ashikaga's order. I searched the database for that surname, and only one person came up with a hit. This person is a bit of a problem. Tachiki-kun operated the terminal while biting into a piece of bread and showed us the screen, so we all peeked at it. There, the data of a certain male student was displayed. Ashikaga Keigo, second year, a class. He is the eldest son of a viscount. He is a member of the first swordsman's club. He was runner-up in the swordsmanship division at the school's martial arts competition. It's easy to imagine that he's a very powerful guy who must be well known in the school, but he's not in my game knowledge and I can't picture his face. The way Lisa was looking at me and tilting her head the same way, it is still very possible that he is someone who does not appear in the game. I was wondering if it was the first swordsman's club, not the second, that are after her. I heard from Kaworu that Omiya's level is about 10. I don't mean to sound rude, but I don't think it's enough to make the first sword art club wary. What do you think? Sorry, I'm not going to tell you the details, but I am much lower level than Ashikaga, and I don't have any reason to believe that I would be targeted by either of the swordsmanship clubs. But would he use such forceful means without a reason? There must be a reason. I would like to ask Ashikaga directly what he was thinking when he moved the second swordsmanship club to chase after the strongest of Class E, but we were dealing with a nobleman, as they are aristocrats, and they would not be interested in us. I have an idea of a nobleman who could act as an intermediary, but I think that would be a last resort. Tachiki-kun, if you ask me, has a message with the first magic club. In the course of his story, he mentions a girl who runs the first magic club, but she must have been a staunch aristocrat. If it were Tachiki-kun's own problem, he might consider asking for help. It is hard to believe that he would ask help when it wasn't his problem but the issue of the holy class. I think that's about all we can ask them. I'm going to try to work in our own way from here on out. I think Yuma and Mishima will be fine, but if you need anything else, call me right away. The most powerful person in the class, Omiya, Tachiki, who is the chief strategist, and Nita, who has the best academic ability in the class, will be supporting me. I'm sure you will find the solution, but the most important thing to remember is to be careful. Lisa smiles and waves at them as they walk back to class, and Satsuki looks at me sideways and smiles bitterly. Naturally, I don't say anything wild like, I'm here too. I don't want to stand out and make it difficult for them to move around. I'm going to need Satsuki and Lisa to do their best here. I was thinking that now that the interview was over, I could eat at my leisure, but there was one person who was giving me a hard look. By the way, Narumi, how strong are you and what can you do? Tachiki-kun raised his glasses with his index finger as if thinking about something, then turned his sharp gaze on me again. Well, if it's just a chore like the one I just did. Don't be silly, there's no way Nida would call you for something like that. It's my own guess, but I think you and Nida are in the same party with Omiya. I'm sure your both levels are not as low as the numbers in the database, if not the same as Omiya's. TL. The only smart character, as I expected of you, Tachiki, you are very perceptive. The actuality is that you're an intelligent character who has saved the protagonist party many times in the game. But I'm not going to tell you now. If I told you, I'm sure you would think of class management and strategies that take my strength into account. I'm going to play it cool here. I'm going to say anything, you're not going to tell me? Well, that's okay. But from now on, I will treat you on the same level as Nida and Omiya. That's because Nida, whom I believe in, believes in you. From what I've seen, Omiya seems to have a lot of trust in you. I'll rely on you without hesitation, even though there may be danger ahead. Fufu, I'm relying on you, but, basically, I think it is better to support at the rear without going forward, right, Sota? Satsuki casually follows up, but Tachiki-kun says that he'll deal with my position later, and goes into a recap of this morning's events. First, what we know now is, the second swordsmanship club is looking for the strongest person in the E-class. The man running the second sword club is a man named Ashikaga from the first sword club. That's about it. Have you noticed anything from this? However, it is almost impossible to read their intentions from this little information. Even Akaji and Mishima, who were torn to pieces, could not quite grasp the situation. Even so, Satsuki put into words what she had noticed. Speaking of the first Kenjutsu club, they are the dons of a large faction that has a number of clubs under its umbrella, right? One of the 8 factions known as the 8 Dragons, that effectively run this school. It's possible that Ashikaga is working alone, so it's not certain that the other party is the entirety of the first swordsman's club, but if they are, it's a serious matter. Hachiryu is deeply involved not only in club activities but also in various school operations such as examinations and career paths. Tachiki-kun says weakly, I can already see the victory or defeat when I challenge them. I told the health teacher and Mirai-sensei about what happened this morning, but they only saw it as part of the training and didn't see it as a problem, and I don't want to have to keep my fingers crossed if they keep violating rules like this. Satsuki grabs her skirt and looks down in frustration. In the game, even against upperclassmen and nobles, she confronted them head-on, so she was the target of excessive retaliation. I am a little worried that Satsuki, in front of me, will do the same thing. The other day, the class competition also adopted an unfair helper rule, and the total amount of magic stone group was disqualified. No, even the earlier duel fiasco must have been a setup. They are clearly trying to destroy the E-class, which is an outside student. I suspect that Hachiryu was involved in all of this. He claims that the E-class is being unfairly suppressed by Hachiryu's malicious intent. Well, the mastermind in the game was Hachiryu, so Tachiki's guess is probably correct. The problem is the countermeasure. Then, Tachiki-kun, what do you think should be done to protect Class E? Tatsuki, this is what I told Nida before. If there is no chance of winning in a proper fight, he said, then they should be subordinated and removed from the target of the attack. If we can get under the umbrella of the 8 dragons, not only the upper classes, but even nobles like Ashikaga and the First Swordsman's Club will not be able to touch us easily. What we are thinking of now is a plan to take advantage of the upcoming election for the next student body president. It is a common practice for the 8 dragons to fight for the position of the next student body president, and this year, they will surely be aiming for the votes of the E-class as well. So, we are going to make the first move to get closer to one of the 8 dragons by bringing our votes with them. If we succeed, we will be protected from unreasonable rules and violence, and our position as the E-class will improve a little. But if we fail, we may be stared down by all of the 8 dragons. In that case, we would inevitably be put in a worse situation than we are now. I had heard that idea from Lisa before, and Tachiki-kun at the game was also working to subordinate himself to one of the 8 dragons, so I am not surprised. But what about contact at this stage? Originally, the contact with Hachiryu would have been made after a good relationship was established between Sarah-san and Akaji-kun, who became the student council president, and many months after the election of the next student council president in terms of timing. Sarah-san moved the student council to launch a reconciliation plan for the E-class, and several Hachiryu rebelled against it. Students in the E-class were involved in violence one after another and there were many duel events, so they had no choice but to contact Hachiryu, but this was much faster than in the game. In addition, there were concerns about the strategy of using the E-class vote as a hand-me-down to seduce Hachiryu. Lisa also pointed out her concerns, perhaps thinking the same thing. But I wonder if Hachiryu will be satisfied with the votes we give it. I on my part think they will test us to see if it is really worth it to have them as part of our group. I wonder if they will ask for a duel after all. Of course, that is not the only concern. The other issue is who to negotiate with. Even among the 8 dragons, there are many different values and ways of thinking, so it's best to focus on the right target. I also think that's true. If we call on every one of the 8 dragons, we will lose credibility. But I wonder if there is a place that understands our E-class. In the game, some of the 8 dragons hate the E-class as if it were a snake and a scorpion. This was the case with the First Swordsmanship Club and the First Magic Club. It is best to avoid these 2 factions. As for which of the 8 dragons to negotiate with, at the moment I'm thinking of the Student Council. The Student Council? The student body president before Sarah-san, in other words, the student body president at the moment, was synonymous with incompetence in the game. He is a mob character whose name and face are not even mentioned. He is a stepping stone to make Sarah-san's achievements look better. Unlike Sarah-san, he did not try to move Hachiryu, nor did he make any major reforms, and he was regarded as a puppet of Hachiryu or something similar. Can they seriously restrain Hachiryu when they are under the control of such a foolish student council president? No, I don't think so. Or, to put it another way, is it possible to make a play for the current student body president by using his mouth as a puppet? Since he seems to have a high level of pride, we may be able to get by unexpectedly if we use a negotiating style that accurately tickles that level of pride. The other 8 dragons are not only full of muscles, but also have smart intellectuals, so the difficulty level of negotiation would be much lower compared to them. And even if they are the student council, thanks to the large amount of authority they are given, they have the greatest power within the Hachiryu. As for the Hachiryu, it would be good to first get in touch with them and see what they can do before thinking about it. However, the term of office of the current student council president is limited, so if we are going to make a move, we must do so at the earliest possible opportunity. I'm not against it, but why the student council? That's easy. The current student body president, from what I've heard, that he is an intelligent, fair, and highly competent person. What, is that so? If that's the case, then we can expect great things from him. If the current student council president is competent, he could be a strong check against the 8 dragons, and if he is fair, there is a possibility that he will listen to the petitions of the E-class. Tachiki-kun adds that if he is as capable as rumored, there is little risk even if negotiations fail. Both Lisa and I can only be surprised at this unexpected reason. We cannot tell if he is not who he says he is in the game or if the information Tachiki-kun has provided is incorrect. In the midst of all this, an email arrives on my terminal. The sender is the student council. The message reads, "Please come to the student council office after school today, that's all." Chapter 112 Reason for calling. Tachiki Naoto's point of view. 4 people stand in front of the student council conference room on the 6th floor of the adventurer school, ready to break in. It was uncertain why Narumi was called to the student council since it wasn't mentioned in the email. However, they couldn't miss the chance to get closer to the student council president. They decided to all go with Narumi and investigate the student council. Alright, let's proceed with the plan we talked about earlier. First, let's find out about the student council president. If we can push them, we'll talk about what happened this morning. After that, we'll gather information about the student council and if possible, about the student council election. Omiya shows her enthusiasm by clenching both of her fists in front of her chest, and Nita smiles naturally as usual. Their fearless attitude in front of the room where the most powerful person in the school is present is indeed reassuring. On the other hand, Narumi seems to be scared with a frown on his face. It's unclear if he's pretending to be a coward to catch the other person off guard, or if he's actually feeling that way. It's hard to tell what he's thinking from her weak eyes. However, Omiya and the others don't seem to be concerned about Narumi at all, so it should be alright. Alright, Narumi, please knock on the door. I have a bad feeling about this. Narumi knocks on the door of the student council conference room while looking a little scared. Come in. A few seconds later, a male voice is heard from the other side. When the heavy wooden door is pushed open, a luxurious reception room like that of a high-end hotel is revealed. The furniture is not just ordinary antiques. The desk, chairs, and lighting are all works of famous craftsmen. It would cost tens of millions, and even billions of yen to acquire all of them. I wonder how much donation money it took to gather these. At the back of the room, a male student with glasses sitting on a leather chair looks at them with a probing gaze. Only one person can sit in that location in the student council conference room, the student council president. According to the information I gathered, he's said to be a genius that comes once every 10 years, but how capable is he really? However, who is that female student? Next to the student council president, there is another person. A female student with long blue hair moves a black fan and gently fans herself. Her scarf is blue, so she must be a second-year student. Is she also a member of the student council? Realizing that there are other people besides the student council president, they hesitate to reconsider their plan, but they take a deep breath and bow, saying, "Excuse us," as they enter the student council room. The thick carpet muffles their footsteps, and the windows and walls are soundproofed, creating a quiet atmosphere. In front of us was someone far superior in status, position, and level. They were someone who could even expel us if they wanted to. Perhaps due to nervousness, I felt thirsty already. I called only the guy over there. Who are you? My name is Tachiki, and we are from the same class, first year class E. This is Omiya and Nita, also from the same class. Go home. The student council president tried to drive us away with a menacing glare. The force of it was so overwhelming that I couldn't help but step back. It was rumored that the student council president was the strongest in the adventurer school, although the head of the first swordsmanship club and the head of the first magic club were considered the strongest in swordsmanship and magic respectively. If you were to be glared at by such an amazing person, it was natural to be scared. However, I couldn't just leave here, where everyone's future was at stake. Since I wouldn't be given any leeway to investigate the student council president's character, I decided to change my plan and go straight to the point. We've come to plead our case. What? The student council president narrowed their eyes at the mention of pleading our case. I thought they would reject our request, so I immediately connected it to this morning's incident. The violence from the second swordsmanship club, the person behind it, a man named Ashikaga from the first swordsmanship club, and how Class E had been exposed to unfair violence and rules numerous times before. If they were really a fair person, they should have had some thoughts after hearing all of this. However, the words that followed from the student council president were far from what I expected. I don't have time for the likes of you, and I don't know anything about it. So cold-hearted. Does that mean they don't care about our problem at all? Unable to bear the frigid response, Omiya stepped forward. I heard that the student council president is a fair person, but you're not at all. You even turned us away when we came to talk to you before. Satsuki, calm down, okay? Although Omiya was excited, Nita immediately stepped in to stop her. The other party was a noble and a big shot who had an impact on the operation of the adventurer school. It was too risky to provoke them. We should think calmly. We can't say the wrong things. We may not get another chance, but what should we say? How can we continue the conversation? When I mentioned Ashikaga's name earlier, the female student standing next to me briefly opened her eyes and showed a thoughtful gesture. She seemed to remember something. Was it about the first swordsmanship club or about Ashikaga, or maybe the person named Ashikaga who attacked our class? Is he someone related to the student council? Could it be? I couldn't help but let my voice trail off at the end. Isn't he a member of the student council, or is it related to the upcoming student council president elections? You don't need to know about it. I think there is a legitimate reason why we should listen to you, as we are currently suffering from this violence. Besides. Suddenly, there was a bang sound. It was the sound of a female student next to them slamming her desk with her hand. As she lowered her arm and turned towards them, a shining golden badge could be seen on her chest. She must have been a noble. These lower-class students are so annoying. Leave that person and get out of here, otherwise. At the end of her sentence, a huge amount of magical power was released. It caused a sensation of fear that made their skin crawl, and their bodies froze as if they were about to kneel down instinctively. The female student was probably a member of the student council and had reached a certain level of power, but she was even more powerful than they had expected. Oh my, this is surprising. As they managed to resist the urge to kneel down, the wind of magic power subsided a little. Omiya and Nita stepped forward to act as shields, blocking the raging aura and protecting them. The student council president watched the scene quietly, while the female student smiled with interest. If I lightly focus on you, you'll immediately run away with your tails between your legs. That should be the case. Unless you're not just ordinary lower-class students. What are your names? I'm Satsuki Omiya. I have no intention of running away or hiding. I'm Lisa Nita. I'm just an ordinary girl. Omiya stood ready with her arms crossed in front of her chest, while Nita, who was always on her own pace, tried to emphasize that she was normal. I couldn't help but admire the courage of these two girls who didn't back down even though they were facing the most powerful person in the school in such a unique place as the student council conference room. However, I haven't seen such cheeky kids in a while. I feel like bullying you. The blue-haired female student licked her lips and began to gather more magical power. The floor trembled slightly, and the air vibrated restlessly, as if a thick, dense magical power was slowly beginning to move, painting their field of vision black and red. Could it be that she was holding back when she first released her aura? What the hell are you doing, Kusunoki? Understood, Sagara-sama. I may have played too much. With one word from the student council president, the female student stopped releasing her magical power and the world returned to normal. It was only a brief moment, but they couldn't stop sweating. They wondered if they were dealing with someone who was significantly stronger than them, even though they were all students of the same adventurer school. Do we have to fight such monsters from now on? I wondered if Narumi, who was behind me and was sweating as much as I was, felt the same way. The student council president closed her eyes and took a deep breath before beginning to speak as if to convince herself. First of all, I don't have the luxury of paying attention to you. Even if I had the luxury, I would be with the first swordsmanship club, not you. Why? It's the fault of the first swordsmanship club. We're the ones in trouble. Even after being shown the aura a while ago, I was surprised that Omiya, who stepped forward, was still trying to argue. Where does this strength of will come from? In contrast, the student council president sitting in front of us continued to explain calmly without showing her emotions. This school is a training institution that produces and graduates valuable adventurers. Countries and companies pay large amounts of taxes and donations to seek them out. Therefore, that value is given top priority above all else, more than your idea of good and evil. I understand what he's saying, but if this school is supposed to be a training institution that produces value, what's the point of destroying it before it produces that value? Allowing students to compete freely and strive for excellence would be the greatest benefit for countries and companies. I, too, am standing here staking my own future. I put strength into my trembling legs and try to stand firm against Omiya. We might grow and surpass the first swordsmanship club. Isn't it a loss for those who seek value to crush us with unreasonable rules before we have a chance to prove our worth? For the past 10 years, all of you in Class E have been nothing but rotten or submissive. Yet you claim to have the potential to produce more value than the first swordsmanship club? Who would believe that? If you're not just making empty boasts, show some value right now. If you can't, then leave. I'm busy. So it means that those without value are not worth protecting. Indeed, the female student who emitted an unmatched aura in front of us was a huge gem. We cannot fathom how much value she will bring to the country or organization in the future. Compared to that, we are just worthless stones. However, I have no intention of giving up on my potential. I put my mind into gear and string together words of rebuttal. But just as I was about to retort, suddenly, a 2-meter-long purple light began to shine in the center of the room without warning. Everyone in the room opened their eyes and looked at the light. But I know what this is, and I know who can control it. Excuse me, I detected a huge magical energy source from here, so I came to check it out. Emerging from the light was a person wearing a black velvet mantle and holding a large staff, who appeared to be Ottawa Ashiki. She had long red hair that fluttered as she surveyed her surroundings. Never mind Sagara-sama and Kusunoki-sama, why is now Chan in this room? And, could it be that the person that Sagara-sama was worried about is here? The sudden appearance of Ottawa left Omiya and Nita dumbfounded. She then began to scrutinize Narumi, who was standing against the wall as if to diminish her presence, without any hesitation. Ottawa raised her left arm and read the status on her wrist terminal. As I thought, everyone is in first year class E now. Chan, please tell me who Sagara-sama called or was worried about. I've already written down their names, and I don't intend to let them escape, but I don't want you to misunderstand. Please don't misunderstand, Ashiki-sama. Those people came to make a complaint about the class. I tried to shoo them away earlier because they were getting in the way. Who was called? Ah, that's right. Come to think of it, it's still unclear why Narumi was called, but I'm curious as to why he's drawing the attention of the student council president and Ottawa, who is one of the 8 dragons. However, the blue-haired female student, Kusunoki, seems to deny it. She seems to not want Ottawa to know the situation. Complaint. Is it about the first swordsmanship club causing trouble? I see. It seems like you're in a rush about the next student council president election. Ashiki, don't talk about the meeting. Even if we didn't say anything, Ottawa could read our answers from our expressions and reactions. While new information has been revealed, the student council president cut in and warned us. You guys, go home for today. Yes, thank you very much. The student council president and Kusunoki, the blue-haired female student, exchanged several glances. We don't know what their intentions were, but it didn't seem like a good relationship. It's dangerous to stay any longer. Moreover, interpreting for today as a hint that we can schedule an appointment next time is a possibility. Let's wait for an opportunity to contact them again while considering our strategy carefully. Katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk. Wasn't that person who came out of that light the head of the first magic department? Their eyes were so scary. Those eyes were like a scientist observing a guinea pig. As they left the student council room as if running away, they began talking about Ottawa-sama, who had appeared magically along the way. Although her tone of voice was soft, her eyes that looked at us were too inorganic and cold, creating a tremendous gap. She used to be a girl who had a gentle smile, but she seemed to have changed quite a bit since entering this adventurer school. But we know that the real culprit was from the first swordsmanship department, and that they attacked because of the presidential election. The call to bring Sota was made by both the student council and the Thief Research Club. It was revealed that the female student who admitted that Oro was Karara Kusunoki, the head of the Thief Research Club and one of the Hachiryu. Narumi explained that she had been invited to dinner by Karara Kusunoki's boss in the past and they got along well, so the call may have been related to that. But that argument is strange. It is unlikely for a high-ranking noble to invite a commoner to dinner unless there is a very good reason. Also, the place where they were called this time was the student council room, and the student council president was also present. If both Hachiryu members were called out, there must have been a more important reason. What could that be? Could it be related to the student council president election? For example, how about this plot? The student council and the Thief Research Club tried to recommend Narumi as the next student council president. This information, which was only fragmentary and uncertain, that someone from first year E class may also run for the election, was heard by Ashikaga. Ashikaga, who was cautious, tried to identify that person using the second swordsmanship department, and the violence this morning happened as a result. Then, all events would be connected. However, that's just forcing the plot to connect all the events while ignoring an extremely important issue. Can a student from E class actually become the next student council president? Even if they were to do such a thing to prevent the rise of new nobles and create the Hachiryu system, it could cause a crack in the system, and the old nobles could move to eliminate it using their political authority and funds. It is unlikely that they would take such action at the expense of their own position in the order of the adventurer school. However, it is a fact that the student council president and the head of the Thief Research Club were trying to contact Narumi at this time, and even Ottawa-sama, who is also a member of the Hachiryu, expressed her vigilance and tried to find out who was called to the student council room. So, should we suspect that possibility? Who are you? Omiya and Nita approached and talked to the overweight man, Sota Narumi. He hunched his back and answered their questions, his lackluster expression unchanged, with no sign of ambition. Is he really just pretending to be that way? There isn't enough information to determine whether he can be the key to our rise or if I'm just overthinking things. I have limited means of gathering information on my own, so perhaps I should involve Kaworu, who is close to Narumi, to investigate with me. Chapter 113 Suspicious Handmade Bento. I was called to the student council room. Although I really wanted to go alone, Tatsuki-kun followed me and I was worried about what would be discussed. Nevertheless, I returned to my seat in the classroom safely and without incident, which could be considered lucky in the midst of misfortune. Lately, I feel like I'm moving away from my ideal of a quiet and humble school life, and I'm starting to feel a sense of crisis. I even received this kind of email. I received an email from Karara-chan saying, I want to talk to you about what happened earlier. Please let me know when you're available. I have no idea what the student council president and others wanted to talk to me about, but it's best to get it over with quickly. However, I've been exhausted from the many events since this morning, and I have various plans. I want to postpone it to another day. Anyway, the busy time since morning is finally over, and I can take a breather. Thinking that, I slumped at my desk, and then a female student appeared silently in front of me. Why didn't you come? When I looked up, Kuga-san was staring at me with half-closed eyes that were difficult to judge if she was sleepy or giving me a dirty look. When I asked her what she meant by, "Why didn't you come?" she indirectly told me to check my email. I quickly operated my terminal screen and started up my email software, then found a familiar email. Apparently, this was what she was referring to. Dear Sota-kun, I made a delicious bento box today. If you're interested, would you like to eat together? Kya, I'll be waiting on the rooftop. Heart. I remembered tossing it into the junk mail folder, thinking it was some kind of advertisement or prank. But when I took a closer look at the sender, it said, Kuga Katona. What was the purpose of sending such a strange message? Or could it be some kind of code? It would be difficult to decipher as the algorithm didn't match. What does heart mean? What was that about? Just like it says, I made a bento box, but Sota didn't come. She held a box-shaped thing wrapped in cloth in her chest, which was a homemade bento, she said. She turned her face to the side and pouted, saying that she wanted to eat it together with me. Her fresh appearance made my heart skip a beat musical note. Not really, it was impossible that a girl who usually didn't stand out, eating cup ramen in a corner of the classroom or nibbling on bread alone, suddenly made a homemade bento for me. She definitely had some kind of plan, and this sudden change. During class battles, the shrewd detective would look at me with a gaze as if interrogating a thief, but she seemed to have studied some girl character and incorporated wriggling movements at crucial moments, making strange gestures. I wonder if they have this kind of training in America. Maybe she wanted to talk about something. Yeah, I wanted to have a meeting about future plans, and if our schedules match, I also wanted to plan a hunting trip together. A meeting, huh? Kuga-san and I have made a secret agreement. It's the kind where we pretend to have a low level in class and mutually agree to practice diligently. That's mainly my reason, but Kuga-san has a different main purpose. She is known as a habitual latecomer at school, lacking motivation and always skipping classes, but that's because she is busy gathering information until late at night, reporting to her superiors, going on missions, etc. She's actually a very busy person. She also has her main job as a spy, so she probably wants to adjust her schedule and consult with me about school events. And an invitation to go hunting. Since she has already reached level 25, leveling up alone is impossible. She says she wants to hunt together with me if possible. It's probably her main goal, or rather, her aim. What I have to be careful about is that at this point, Kuga-san doesn't have much attachment to Japan and doesn't have any positive feelings towards her classmates, including Akaji. If she finds out about my player knowledge, information will be sucked up to America like a vacuum. Even if we go hunting together, I have to accurately grasp the progress of her unique event flags that will occur in the future and control the information appropriately. So, she should be well aware of the fact that I am being cautious like this. That's why I think she made the bento and sent that strange email, using those tactics. Kuga-san is a genuine Dunix heroine, and she's really cute to look at, but so far she's been a hardcore unsociable character, so those kinds of tactics haven't had much effect. It could be said that I've been saved by that, though. Sorry, I have something to do today. We can talk more when we have time. I see, I really wanted to talk to you sooner, but okay, I'll bring you some next time, too. With that, Koga-san returns to her seat like a ninja without making a sound. I'm curious about what kind of bento she made, but I'll decline it just in case there's any truth serum or anything in it. There are still many things I have to think about after this. I hope everything goes well. Katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk katakana middle dot asterisk. Wow, the magical concentration here is incredible. We're at the 20th floor. Then let's turn on the light. In the dimly lit gate room of the 20th floor, Satsuki's eyes widened in surprise at the thick magical energy that surrounded them. Lisa lit a lamp on a magical tool and placed it on the ground, illuminating the small room of about 15 tatami mats, casting the shadows of the three people onto the stone walls. We're supposed to meet him here. I'm getting nervous. Until a little while ago, he was exploring the area as a spider arachne, but the email said he'll be here soon, so let's prepare and wait. Arachne, today, the four of them, including Arthur, were planning to discuss their future together. By the way, it was Arthur's first time meeting the other two. Satsuki was curious about what kind of person he was, and couldn't calm down how to interact with him, but Arthur was a rough guy, so there was nothing to worry about. On the contrary, I was worried that he might do something rude to her instead. He summons monsters like spiders and takes over their bodies to adventure around this area. There's a spell like that too. I'd also get bored if I stayed in one place for too long, so it's good to be able to move around, you know. Due to the constraints of being a demon, Arthur couldn't move between floors freely, but he found out that he could move around freely by taking over a summoned monster. So for the past few days, he had been exploring various floors as a spider arachne. Summoning magic is risky because if the summoned monster becomes uncontrollable, it becomes very high risk. But if it can be used for various purposes such as dangerous quests and reconnaissance, it could be a big advantage. It might be good to learn at least one spell like that. Now then, should I prepare for the discussion? Then I'll bring out the table and chairs. I brought some delicious tea. For snacks, I have these. If you like them, that's great. They brought out a folding table and 4 round chairs that were left over from the Magibag, improved, bought at the store, placing them in the center of the room. Since our house was a shop specializing in adventurer goods, we had plenty of camping gear. However, it seems that Satsuki is more interested in this Magibag, improved, than the table and adventure gear. Is that a special Magibag that's lighter even with the same weight as before? I want it soon too. It would be great if we could get a lot when we go with Kano-chan next time. While I was chatting with cute girls, Satsuki pours hot tea from her thermos into paper cups, and Lisa takes out a cookie set she bought from her favorite shop and puts it on a paper plate. The aroma of tea and sweet butter spreads. Let's enjoy it without hesitation. Although the space is dimly lit and feels cold, it looks so lively when talking with cute girls. The tea is delicious. As they enjoy their cookies, they hear the sound of someone coming down the ladder with an off-pitch nose hum. It's Arthur, who came to meet someone and was surprised to see Satsuki. Hey, I heard you wanted to meet someone, and it's a girl. Hey, aren't you Sake Satsuki-chan? Nice to meet you. Wow, it's the real Sake-chan, big eyes, tousled hair, and a cute, modest chest. Arthur observes Satsuki from various angles as soon as he sees her. It's understandable that he's happy to see a girl from the game in person, but he's a little too forward. Satsuki punches him. Oh, that hurts. So who's the other beautiful lady? He. Long time no see. You're still flashy. I mean, Arthur. What? How do you know my nickname? Although he didn't learn his lesson from the punch, Arthur talks to Lisa while being charmed. But when she correctly guesses her nickname from Dunix, he jumps back and stands ready. To smooth out the meeting, shall we introduce ourselves first? That's a good idea. We might be in for a long ride. He. Lisa finds Arthur's teeth grinding and intimidation funny and agrees with him. Well, if Arthur knew who Lisa was in Dunix, she'd be even more surprised. Well, I'm Narumi Sota, a player. We'll work together and tackle various problems in the future. I'll do what I can to cooperate, so please take care of me. Did you explain about Dunix to Sake-chan? I explained that we came from a parallel world. TL. Cat is out of the bag, that's what I heard. Arthur asks how they explained it to Satsuki. According to Lisa, they said they only came in spirit from a parallel world. For Satsuki, it's easier to believe that they came from a similar world than that this world is a game, and it's easier to accept. At least for now, we don't understand what this world is, and I think it's better that way, she said. Well then, next. I'm Arthur. I was inexplicably transported to this world and was terribly bored, but I'm relieved that I've finally made some acquaintances other than the child who was originally in there, said Arthur as he took a bite of his cookie and held out his horn. Gently touch it, he said to Satsuki. However, the child who was originally in there, it seemed like there was consciousness in the original body, like my Buddha mind, but in Butao's case, it was always active, and I feel like our consciousness has fused to the point where I don't know if it's me, or Butao. Maybe in Arthur's case, the fusion isn't progressing because the mental structure of demons and humans is different. Then it's my turn. I'm Nita Lisa. I'm a player, call me Lisa musical note. Lisa-chan, you said you knew about me earlier, but who were you over there? Asked Arthur. Arthur-kun was a famous person, so I think a lot of people knew him, in that sense, Sota too. In the other world, I was called Executioner of the Black, said Lisa. Holy cow, exclaimed Arthur, leaning forward on the table. By the way, Lisa was also this same girl in appearance in the other world, and she kept going back and forth from head to toe, finally trembling. I definitely thought that the Black Knight, who led those fanatics, was a gorilla woman, said Arthur. I heard some rude words. I'll punish you, musical note, said Lisa. I also secretly thought she was a gorilla woman. But that's not unreasonable. In Dunix, Lisa was a veteran warrior who led a group and engaged in direct conflicts with PK groups and large-scale clans. Her nickname was enough to make even the most hardcore PKs run away barefoot. It's hard to believe that she is now such a gentle and charming lady. At first, I was skeptical too, but as we practiced sword fighting together, I became convinced that Lisa was that Black Knight. Her way of taking distance with the sword and stepping in reminded me of those days when I was killing and being killed over and over again. That being said, I'm curious about what kind of punishment she has in store. Finally, it's my turn. Omiya Satsuki here. Just an ordinary, unremarkable person, but I might get in the way, but I had fun adventuring together, so please let me stay with you, said Satsuki. I would also like to ask for your help, in response to Satsuki, who bowed her head and asked to be with them. Lisa also bowed her head. If being together was fun for Satsuki, then it was for her too, and she was grateful for her concern at school. However, there was resistance to involving Satsuki in the players' troubles. If it was a school-related event, even if rough guys came to use violence, we were willing to borrow Satsuki's power and even assumed that they would fight together if it came to a fight. That was because we believed it would lead to her happy school life. However, if the opponent was a large organization that did not shy away from killing or a player with a variety of attack methods, the danger level would skyrocket beyond comparison. I and Lisa were players who knew the future, so we had a duty to deal with such people, but Satsuki was just an ordinary girl. I wanted to keep her away from such dangerous people. Even so, Lisa said that Satsuki was her partner who shared their thoughts every night, slept and ate together, and relied on each other's backs to fight in the dungeon. On the other hand, Satsuki also said she wanted to be of help if they were to face a dangerous future. In that case, we decided to ask for her help as well. I'm also counting on you. Help from someone you can trust is really valuable. I have no objections, of course. It's good to be more glamorous, right? Thank you, Sotwa, Arthur-kun. Lisa stroked Satsuki's head, who was happy with tears in her eyes. Arthur didn't seem to be thinking deeply, but that was fine for now. They could slowly cultivate their sense of camaraderie and bond. Well, let's get to the main point. There are many problems such as the Adventurer School event, dealing with the Outsiders clan, and the future leveling policy. They are all important. The Adventurer School, but I'm a demon, so I can't move well and probably can't do anything. I want to go outside. Because of the demon's constraints, Arthur weakly lay on the table, saying he couldn't participate in anything outside the dungeon. Even if he turned into a spider arachne, the summoned monster would return on its own once it went outside the magic field, and he couldn't fully support the team with a spider body in the dungeon, he said sulkily. However, on the other hand, if we can somehow manage to do that, we will be able to fully borrow Arthur's power, who is almost level 40. If that happens, not only will we gain a significant advantage in solving the various problems I mentioned earlier, but there is also the possibility that we can quickly settle things like collecting weapon materials and processing events. This constraint has a significant impact on us as well. Despite Arthur's extensive research, he has not been able to find any clues to solve this problem, but that doesn't mean there hasn't been any progress. So let's start by talking about that, I said. Arthur nodded and began to explain what he had discovered so far. Apparently, the constraint was related to a rare form of magic that was used to create the game world. This magic, known as the world crafting spell, was responsible for shaping the landscape, creating the NPCs, and even determining the rules of physics within the game. Arthur had learned that the spell had been cast by a group of powerful wizards, led by a legendary sorcerer named Merlin. The spell had been created to serve as a form of entertainment for Merlin and his followers, but it had quickly gained a life of its own and became an actual game world. However, the spell was not without its limitations. It required a constant source of magical energy to maintain, which was why the game was powered by the players themselves. In addition, the spell was designed with a built-in constraint that prevented any player from gaining more than a certain amount of power. Arthur had been studying the spell for months, trying to find a way to break the constraint. He had discovered that the spell was vulnerable to certain types of magic, and he had even found a few spells that could potentially disrupt it. But the problem is, Arthur said, the magic required to break the constraint is incredibly dangerous. It could potentially destabilize the entire game world and put everyone in it at risk. I frowned. So what do we do? Arthur shrugged. I'm still working on it, but I thought you should know what I've discovered so far. If we can figure out a way to break the constraint without causing any harm, it could be a game changer. I nodded slowly. I understand. Keep me posted on your progress. Arthur nodded and we continued to discuss the matter further, brainstorming different ideas and strategies. As always, working with Arthur was both challenging and rewarding, and I felt grateful to have him as an ally in this strange, magical world. Chapter 114 Players Meeting. In the dimly lit 20th floor gate room, 4 people sit facing each other across a table. There are various things they want to discuss, such as how to act at school events, how to deal with outside clans like Sorrel, and how to cooperate in leveling up. These aren't urgent problems at the moment, but they're all important challenges that can't be avoided. Originally, it was planned that I, Lisa, and sometimes Satsuki would handle these issues together as a team of 3, but if we can enlist Arthur's help, it would significantly reduce the difficulty of dealing with them. Therefore, we need to find a way to overcome the demon's constraint that limits our movements to specific floors. If we want to gather information about the demon's constraint, it's best to ask another demon like Furufaru, I say. So I asked her, but... Did you find a way to do something about it? Arthur interrupts excitedly, leaning forward over the table, his large curly horns trembling with anticipation. Demons are a strange and unusual race that have appeared in Dunix. They look almost human except for their large, curly horns, so it's tempting to think of them as allies, but their behavior patterns and ways of thinking are vastly different from those of humans. Some are friendly towards adventurers, while others are disasters that can't communicate with them and simply mow down everything in their path with demons at their command. Even the friendly Furufaru is unknown why she runs that empty shop, or when she started it. In short, trying to understand demons is pointless, as they operate on completely different values and algorithms from humans. Moreover, their physical abilities are vastly different from those of humans. In terms of abilities, they have over twice the int intelligence, VIT endurance, and MP magical power of adventurers of the same level, making their combat abilities extremely high in both close combat and magic battles. They also have a unique mental structure that makes them immune to psychic attacks. However, while demons are incomprehensible and powerful cheats, they have some major limitations, one of which is an unbelievable restriction on their movements. Even Furufaru, another demon, is only allowed to move on a few floors besides that old woman's shop, and she sends adventurers on quests as a way to get around this. Even with Arthur's player knowledge, this movement restriction is a fatal shackle that cannot be broken. If you've found a way to remove this shackle, tell us now, Arthur urges me, but unfortunately, there is no easy solution in this world. Unfortunately, as long as you remain a demon, you won't be able to have your movement restrictions lifted, I said. But that can't be the end, right? Arthur didn't seem intimidating at all with his childlike appearance, though he sent a threatening look my way after giving me hope. However, I hadn't told him about it just to tease him, so I wanted him to calm down. As long as you're a demon, that's what they say, so you just have to quit being a demon. However, there seem to be various disadvantages that come with that, I replied. In Dunix, demons were guardians of the dungeon, and the constraints placed upon them seemed to be related to that. If Arthur quit being a demon, it was uncertain what would happen to the 38th floor where he was stationed, and he would lose all the benefits of being a demon, such as his high stats and unique skills. The 38th floor? If I can leave the dungeon, I don't care about that house. It was just full of junk anyway. It hurts to have lower stats, but I can overlook that. But can I really do that? I asked Furufuru several times, but she said her memory was vague and she couldn't remember. I had never heard of magic that would allow someone to be reincarnated into a different race, not just demons, while playing games. Was it really possible? Were there any precedents? That was the important question I had been questioning Furufuru about. However, all she had to say was, I think there was something like that. Or maybe not. But if you bring me that, maybe I'll remember. That referred to Furufuru's request quest, but I think it's impossible to collect 1,000 of them, Satsuki said. You're really doubting me, Furufuru replied. If we were going to collect 1,000, it would take almost half a year even if we did it every day. However, if Arthur could leave the dungeon, it would be an immeasurable benefit to us, so it was worth a try. But I'm glad. I thought I was going to live in this dungeon forever. If I can go outside, I want to go to the adventurer school too, Arthur said. It's not confirmed yet. Besides, even if you can enroll in school, it won't be until next year, I replied. Next year, Kano might also enroll, and we might become classmates, but it looks like Class E will be in trouble, Arthur said. It was natural for players who had exhausted Dunix to want to attend adventurer school. They might be able to do it next year, but before that, they had to figure out how to get Arthur's identity registered, or what to do if Kano and Arthur became classmates. I was starting to get worried. Until then, I guess we'll have to act together with Arachne. Let's do our best, I said. The spider Arachne's body is small and plain, so I don't know how much I can do, Arthur replied. Normally, when adventurers come across the spider Arthur, they mistake it for a monster and attack it, so it would have been better if it were a humanoid summon monster. I wonder if the elemental or angel type could do that. Either way, it's tough to acquire the skill. There are a fair number of humanoid summon monsters, but they are all powerful ones that can only be obtained by the highest level jobs. However, the spider Arachne that Arthur uses is not a normal type, but rather a level 70 monster and the highest species of Arachne, the Arachne monarch. Nevertheless, for some reason, it has been weakened and reduced in size. Although it is inconvenient, there is no choice but to rely on that spider for a while. As the discussion about the constraints of the Majin comes to a close, I take a break and drink the tea that Satsuki has given me, feeling relieved. After finishing all the cookies on the paper plate, Lisa brings out a green-colored roll cake. She cuts it up and puts it on the paper plate, so I put it in my mouth without hesitation, and the pleasant aroma of matcha envelops my nasal cavity. This is delicious. I'll have another. So, how's school these days? With matcha cream all around his mouth, Arthur cheerfully asks about the state of affairs at school as he orders another helping. The class battle is over, and the next student council election is about to begin. I think Seri-san is likely to win, but there have been some unexpected developments that have left me perplexed. Sota was being watched by the student council, wasn't he? Probably because of the Ninja Red Club. I think it's probably because of the Ninja Red Club. It's related to Kunoichi Red. I don't think Kunoichi Red is being treated as an enemy, although there may be some suspicious movements. Even Karara didn't come into contact with me unnecessarily or reveal my information in the student council room. The reason for the summons is still unknown, so it's a concern. Are the 8 dragons and Kunoichi Red already in action? Sounds interesting. If only I had enrolled and run for student council president. He flaps his feet impatiently, eager to enroll quickly. It's frustrating that he can't interfere with school events. However, at this point, there is a discrepancy between the game story and reality, with Kunoichi Red getting involved and the second swordsmanship club attacking. I'm still unsure whether my knowledge of the game will continue to be useful. It's not a good situation if everyone in the class isn't able to level up as they want. Even if only Akaji-kun and the others were leveling up. Why don't they just power level and get it over with? Wait, didn't you say you taught them about gate? Yeah, that's right. So even if they do power level, they can only do it on weekends. Since it takes half a day just to get to the hunting ground without being able to use the gate, they can't level up during weekdays when they have school. If Akaji and his friends can't level up enough, they may fail in various school events that will happen in the future. In the game, even if they cannot advance to the second year, it would lead to a bad ending. So, does that mean the E-class might collapse? That's a problem? What? The class is going to collapse. Several classmates may stop coming to school or be forced to drop out on their own. Arthur casually mentions the power word, E-class collapse, while nibbling on the freshly cut roll cake. Even though it's a bad ending, it doesn't mean anyone will die just because the class collapses. However, Satsuki, who has affection for her classmates and wants to work hard together, looks troubled by the idea of the class collapsing. As for me, I want to prevent Kaworu's withdrawal, who is working hard, and if Hanano and Arthur come to school next year, I want to act like a senior and enjoy school life together. If possible, I plan to avoid the class collapsing. There are several turning points to stop the class from collapsing, but the summer vacation where we can spend a long time in the dungeon is the decisive moment. I think we'll be okay until winter if we can level up to about level 10. We also have to work hard to support them. While progress with E-class is not smooth, there is nothing fatal at this stage, and I think we can make a comeback if everyone can level up during the summer vacation. While the fact that we were attacked by the second Kendo Club and summoned to the Student Council conference room is a problem, there is nothing I can do about it publicly. We have to continue supporting everyone in Class E while watching the situation in the future. I see. By the way, I want to know who else is playing the game. So far, the only one we know is Tsukishima. Tsukishima? Who's that? That person. So, Lisa, have you found out anything since then? Arthur is curious if there are other players, so he watches his face and data from the ARM Terminal's database. Tsukishima is seen sometimes with Lisa, who is known to be a player, but that's because he asked her to gather information for him. Tsukishima also casually talks and invites Lisa to play or eat, but he seems to have no ulterior motive for now. Seems like he's not diving into the dungeon as usual. He always play in the bustling city outside. However, it seems like his level is going up smoothly. He's eviling up without diving into the dungeon. Could it be that he's using summoning magic? Summoning magic? Can he really do that? After hearing Lisa's story, Arthur speculated that he was leveling up by sending summoned monsters to charge individually. Satsuki was surprised with her eyes wide open, wondering if it was really possible to do something so easy. Although I had considered the summoning magic theory before, I was doubtful if it was really possible. Arthur, even if you send summoned monsters alone to level up in the dungeon, won't they disappear if the summoner is not nearby? Even if they don't disappear, won't you run out of MP if you continue to summon for hours at a low level? Dungeon Explorer's summoned monsters automatically return to the summoner when they move away a certain distance, so it was impossible to charge individually on different floors. Also, even if he was boosting his MP with legendary equipment, it would still run out quickly at low levels with no decent equipment. Without solving these two problems, the summoning magic theory would not hold up. Over here, even if you're far away, summoned monsters won't disappear if they have loyalty to the summoner. My summoned Arachne Chappie is very fond of me, so even if I order her to go to a different floor, she won't disappear. Also, if you call them when you don't have enough level, they should be in a weakened state, and the MP cost of the summoning is also greatly reduced. Summoned monsters in this world have something like a loyalty parameter, and one won't even be able to possess them without it being high. Also, if anyone uses summoning magic in a weakened state due to low level, it becomes a debuff state where the compatibility is greatly reduced, but the MP cost also decreases in the same way. This kind of information seems different from the game's specifications, so it's not clear until one actually uses summoning magic and experience it for oneself. However, if Arthur's theory is true, the credibility of the summoning magic theory will greatly increase. The only problem now is, but the sightings of summoned monsters diving solo haven't been reported, have they? Are there summoned monsters that can't be noticed or become invisible? Although there are summoned monsters that reduce the cognitive ability of the surroundings, it's probably impossible to pass through places like the first floor, where adventurers are crowded, without being noticed by anyone. If they're humanoid, they can probably disguise themselves by wearing armor. I think that Tsukishima guy has applied such a disguise though. Satsuki pointed out that if summoned monsters walked on the first floor of the dungeon, it would cause a big uproar. Some of them are giant summoned monsters like dragons and divine beasts, so it is easy to imagine that panic would ensue if they were in the crowd. However, as Arthur says, if they're humanoid, it's possible to pass by wearing armor. Well, even if we let him hunt solo, he can probably only reach around level 20. Summoned monsters are usually weaker than their summoners. But hey, what kind of guy is Tsukishima? Isn't he the kind of guy you can call here? I think it's difficult to reach level 20 in the first place. Is he planning to form a party soon? But I'm curious about how he's going to deal with that, as I don't see any indication that he's nurturing any of his classmates. He's a guy who says he wants to rule the whole world. He doesn't seem to have any cooperation skills. He seems to dislike group activities. He's an ambitious guy who doesn't seem to be good at teamwork. I don't hate that type, but it's hard to see him as a teammate, right? As someone who came to this world with game knowledge, it's not normal to live peacefully without using that knowledge. Unless you're an extremely incompetent person who can't recognize the enormous potential, or someone who has burned out on everything in their original world, having ambition is a matter of course, and it can be said to be evidence of having a healthy mind. So just having ambition isn't a reason not to have someone as a teammate. There are plenty of things that need to be dealt with by cooperating, and I'm even eager to reach out to him. What bothers me about Tsukishima-kun is that he only sees the people around him as NPCs. I can't expose important family members to such a person, and even if we form a party, I can't see the future I want to achieve. I'm asking Lisa to persuade Tsukishima-kun to change his way of thinking, but the lack of progress is also a frustrating problem. He said he's going to start moving at school soon. I don't know what he's planning to do, so I'm going to keep an eye on him. But even if I understand it, it's difficult to stop him, right? We're not even ready to fight in the E-class yet. If we get on the radar of the upper-class students now, there won't be anyone who can fight them, right? Even nobles close to level 20 might show up if we cause a full-scale war with the upper class by picking fights everywhere. If we're unlucky, even the 8 dragons might move. Even if Tsukishima can stand up against them, the classmates will be crushed just by being hit by their aura at this point. What the hell is he thinking? If he's going to act, I wish he would at least wait until next year, but he might not be the type to listen to what Lisa says. We already have enough problems without adding new ones. I didn't plan to talk deeply about it today, as it was just supposed to be a get-together. Now, what should I do? As I sighed and drank tea to moisten my throat, the wall pattern suddenly lit up, illuminating the wall in purple. Someone had activated the gate, though I already knew who it was. Ta-da, we've arrived. Sota, I brought plenty of worm food today too. Heave-ho, we have so much that Arthur and the young ladies can join us too, right? First, Hanano jumped out with her twin tails swaying, followed by my parents carrying a large leather bag on their backs. The heavy atmosphere lightened up with the appearance of the cheerful Narumi family. My mother's worm food refers to the rotten flesh that the undead drop. Worms love it. Thanks to the Narumi family going worm hunting every day by closing their shop early, their level has been steadily increasing, and their parents are close to level 20. It's about time to start considering their advanced jobs. Hanano-chan, did you come to see me? Satsuki-ne, Lisa-ne, I missed you guys. As he tried to embrace Hanano with enthusiasm upon seeing her, Arthur was dodged by her, who had already hugged Satsuki and Lisa. I couldn't come up with a better plan right now, so let's end the discussion here and deepen our friendships through worm hunting. Fortunately, leveling up has been going smoothly for us. No matter what situation may arise or who our opponents may be in this world, I will protect only my family, even if I have to die trying. I don't know about the 8 dragons or the Sorel family, but I'll crush them if they come at us. Chapter 115 Thirst for Strength. Sota, it's time, but are you okay? His mother called out from under the stairs. Looking at the clock, it was already time to leave the house. Usually, Koworu would come to pick him up early, so he didn't need to worry about the exact time, but lately, she had been going to school early in the morning to practice with Akagi-kun and the others, leaving Sota to go to school alone. Thanks to that, he realized he was running late. Well, I can't rely on Koworu forever. Recently, Koworu's eyes had changed, and it was clear that he was trying to become stronger, and his straightforward efforts were shining brightly. As for Sota, he hadn't aimed for universities that were beyond his academic abilities even in his original world, and he hadn't been completely devoted to his work either. Since coming to this world, wanting to become stronger was not just a means of protecting his own and his family's future but also an ambition to rise up, prioritizing how to level up safely and easily using his game knowledge rather than through hard work. That's why when he saw Koworu working hard every day, he felt ashamed of himself. I want to help him a little. The reason he didn't get close to Koworu until now was because he had to avoid being expelled from school, and he also believed that leaving things to Akagi-kun was the easiest way to happiness. But he was also afraid that he would hurt and make Koworu unhappy by getting closer. Maybe he was just running away. Lately, his conflicting desire to help, even if it involved some risk, had been growing stronger. Well, it would be great if he could honestly teach his game knowledge and call her to this side. His inner pig-mindedness was also pleading with him every day. However, in that case, he would have to be prepared to make Koworu unhappy. Okay, this should do it. He fixed his bedhead in the mirror, checked if there was anything else odd, and then picked up his bag. Recently, he felt that the school was going in a strange direction, but he just hoped that today would be another quiet day without any trouble. July was already approaching and the temperature and humidity were rising rapidly, causing sweat to seep out just from walking. If he were thin, this kind of humid heat might not have bothered him so much, but he regretted returning to being chubby Sota. However, if he had missed that time, he probably wouldn't have been able to skip the luxurious menu that he would never be able to eat in his life. So maybe it was a route that had been decided. If you keep lamenting the harsh world, the school building is already right in front of you. I can't think calmly while walking to school because it only takes 5 minutes from my house to school. As I put my shoes in my locker and took out my indoor shoes, some people rushed down the stairs and passed by in a hurry. That's my classmate. I wonder where they're heading when homeroom is about to start soon. As I walked towards the classroom without worrying, my classmates ran past me again. I heard what they were saying as they passed by. Is the place right at the second fencing club room? No, it's at the arena. Girls are also subject to violence. Never mind, hurry up. The second fencing club at the arena. And girls. It feels unpleasant. The place is the arena. I need to hurry there too. The adventurer school has 4 arenas. All of them are inside the magic field, and they're useful places for training in classes and clubs because they are made of sturdy material that can withstand some magic and sword attacks. One of them, called Number 4, which is also used for sword fighting classes in E-class, had a crowd of people in front of it, so I cut in. However, because dozens of people were crowded around the entrance, I couldn't see what was happening in front of me even if I stretched my neck or moved my face to the side. So, I had to forcefully push my way in while pretending to be looking around, and slowly moved forward while reading the movements of the group as a whole. Along the way, elbows and punches were flying, but this was inside the magic field, so it didn't work on me, who had strengthened my body. Well, how is it going? Wait a minute. Finally, I managed to get my face out through the gap, and the first thing I saw was the fallen figure of a member of the second fencing club. They were falling in various ways, hitting the wall, lying face down, and lying down in a prone position. It looks like they were taken out with one blow based on the degree of damage. What does this mean? In the back of the arena, there were Akagi with torn uniform and bruises all over his body, and Tachiki whose glasses were broken and hair was messed up. Behind them were the unscathed Pink Chan and Koworu. It's clear that Akaji and Tachiki were attacked, but it's unlikely that they were beaten up because they fought back. Second, is a group of skilled people who exceed level 10. If they fought in this place inside the magic field, it would be too much for them to handle. Next, I saw Tsukishima. He was in the middle of the arena, looking lethargic as he put his hands in his pockets and stared down the members who were still standing. Why is he there? No, he must have done something to the fallen member of the second fencing club. Hey, don't think you can get away with doing something like this for free. You're gonna die, Ga, don't talk big, you shitty little fish. Tsukishima calmly countered the burly member who swung his fist with hostility, and sent him flying back into the wall. From this brief moment of fighting, it was evident that there was a clear difference in strength. The member who was sent flying didn't even seem to have expected the counterpunch, and Tsukishima had read his movements perfectly and knocked him out with a single blow. The other members could sense the difference in their abilities and were immobilized. From what I can infer from what just happened, I can see Lisa in the front row, so I'll ask her about what's going on. I make my way towards her, dodging the elbows being thrown at me a few times, but my plump body is making it difficult to move around in this crowded space. Lisa, what's going on? You're too late, Sota. There was information that Heie-san was being taken away after being involved in something, so we rushed here. At first, Pink-chan and Kowaru were taken away by members of the second fencing club. Information was brought to the classroom that Akaji-kun and Tachiki-kun rushed to the scene. While classmates were discussing what to do, Tsukishima ran off on his own, so Lisa and her classmates chased after him. But by the time they arrived here, it was already in this state. Although it has not been more than a minute since it started, Tsukishima had sent half of the members flying and they were now in a standoff. Until then, Akaji-kun and Tachiki-kun had not interfered, choosing to play the role of the ones being punched, but even that proved to be useless. Sigh, so Tsukishima really went berserk, huh? Lisa had mentioned during the player meeting on the 20th floor that Tsukishima was about to make a move, but it seemed that he had already done so. However, considering how sudden this situation is, it's possible that this was not part of Tsukishima's plan. But it is a problem that such a big event has occurred between the second fencing club and E-class. There are many members of the club who are from samurai families and have connections with the nobility. Furthermore, it was the first fencing club that ordered them to attack E-class. Undoubtedly, this commotion was instigated from behind the scenes. Oh, they're here. Move, Eek, Kya. A student released their aura without reservation, causing Lisa's classmates to scatter and scream. Judging from the amount of magic power released just now, they were probably at level 13 to 15. However, the student who used this magic was a first-year student, which means their magic is just a lower-ranked one. Then, a group of frowning students entered. It was the first fencing club. The upper part is a white and the lower part is a black kendo uniform. The first kendo club is embroidered in golden on the shoulder, and the atmosphere it exudes is different from that of the second kendo club. Each of them holds a rubber sword for practice, but it can become a powerful weapon that inflicts significant damage if handled by someone who has significantly improved their level. The members of the first kendo club are only composed of nobles or upper-class samurai, so one must be careful even when responding to them. It is unsettling. The first-year member at the forefront interrogated with a deep voice, "Hey, what's going on? Explain exactly what happened here," and a nearby classmate stumbled to explain the situation. It was only a matter of time before the hostility of the first kendo club would turn toward Tsukishima. The situation was at its worst. Lisa, even if Tsukishima-kun has to fight against all members of the first kendo club, he might be in danger, right? He might be able to win, but I can't imagine him using his full strength in front of so many people like this. Anyway, we can only watch from here. At this point, there is probably no way to resolve the situation peacefully. As Lisa said, the only thing we can do is watch. Wasn't there a better way to handle this? I knew that Tsukishima-kun was trying to get Kowaru's attention. Perhaps he took action that was not part of the original plan because there was a possibility of violence against Kowaru. Even if I were in the same position, I might have beaten up all the members of the second kendo club. But at least I would have considered the use of items to hide my identity or the use of sneaky tactics to prevent the situation from getting out of hand. Is this commotion within the expected range for Tsukishima-kun, who said he was about to move? The situation is further developing. New members wearing kendo uniforms have come from behind. Some are a whole size larger than the others, and there is even a female student wearing a family crest on her kendo uniform. They are probably high-ranking members of the first kendo club. I can see the face of Ashikaga, who is believed to have instructed them to attack Class E. He looks much bigger and thicker than he did in the photo. Given that the first-year members call Ashikaga the vice-captain, he can be inferred as the second most powerful after the captain called Hachiryu. He is a difficult opponent to deal with. What's all this commotion? First-year member, explain. Yes, a commoner from the inferior class over there punched and sent the second club member flying. What should we do? Class E attacked a second club member, I see. Hearing that report, Ashikaga walked up to Tsukishima-kun. His expression was not angry but rather pleased. Staring intently from head to toe at Tsukishima, who stands before him, Ashikaga asks, "Did you do that to them?" Tsukishima responds with a smug laugh, his hands in his pockets. "Oh, and if I did?" Ashikaga points to the fallen members of the second swordsmanship club and asks, "Can you tell me why?" "Those small fry were getting on my nerves. I'll crush you, the mastermind, and end it all." Crush me, a commoner like you? Ha ha ha. Tsukishima and his classmates laugh, starting with a quiet chuckle and building to a large roar. It is an obvious, contemptuous laughter directed at Ashikaga. After all, it is not unusual to think that the students of Class E, who are considered inferior, would speak words like, crush, to one of the most powerful members of the First Swordsmanship Club, one of the most skilled students at the Adventurer School. The club members jeer and chuckle, but only Ashikaga's eyes do not laugh. He seems to be observing Tsukishima's center of gravity without averting his eyes from him. If he was able to take down several members of the Second Swordsmanship Club without a scratch, it means that he has at least some level of skill as a member of the First Swordsmanship Club. Ashikaga assumes that he has the power to inflict damage even if he does not defeat him outright if he catches him off guard. Eventually, the laughter subsides, and a painful silence dominates. As those around them imagine what will happen to the two, Koworu breaks the balance. I am sorry, it's my fault, please forgive me. Step back, commoner, I am talking to this man. Koworu, who steps forward with a determination to protect Ashikaga, bows her head deeply and apologizes, but Ashikaga does not meet her gaze. A member of the First Swordsmanship Club who was standing behind them stepped forward and berated Koworu, causing Tsukishima to crack his knuckles and step forward. Back off, Koworu. I'll take care of them. Wait, Tsukishima-kun, please calm down. In the midst of the chaos, Koworu tries to intervene but Tsukishima circulates magic within his body. The tension in the room increases abruptly, and you can hear the sound of people holding their breath. With so many bystanders present, it is difficult to predict the extent of the damage if a fight were to break out between the First Swordsmanship Club and Tsukishima. Koworu probably thought the same and tried to stop the situation, but Ashikaga, using his right hand, signals to everyone to stop and shows a gesture of contemplation. Wait a minute, it's boring to fight here, isn't it? Why don't we call in a large crowd of spectators? Let's invite the Student Council President and other members of the 8 Dragons, and have them determine who is suitable to become the next Student Council President. Ashikaga began to speak in an elaborate manner, as if he had come up with a brilliant idea. He proposed to invite a gallery to the #1 arena in 1 week's time after school and hold a one-on-one duel. The agreement was made that the First and Second Swordsmanship Clubs would not interfere with Class E, but calling in other members of the 8 Dragons was a different matter. This situation had become quite serious. Even if you can't beat me, I'll recognize your good fight by admitting you to our First Swordsmanship Club, or would you prefer a reward like money? What a good opportunity. We'll thoroughly show these ignorant fools who don't know anything about true strength. Kukuku. Wash your neck and wait, Ashikaga. I see. I'm looking forward to it. Having received an unexpected and disappointing response, they looked upon him with pity, and Ashikaga and the First Swordsmanship Club left without giving any medical assistance to the Second Swordsmanship Club who had fallen. Satsuki arrived with the health teacher, changing places. Now it should be okay to leave it to them. The health teacher arrived and took out magical tools and medical equipment from his bag. He started with a physical examination of the fallen Second Swordsmanship Club member against the wall. While watching this, they reflected on what had happened earlier. A duel like this has become a serious matter. Is there no way to stop this? The opponent was said to be a member of the 8 Dragons, the First Swordsmanship Club, which has a high influence in the Adventurer School. To be frank, this is a more serious situation than opposing Class A. It is only natural that the Second and Third Swordsmanship Clubs will become enemies, and even related nobles and upper-class members may be unwilling to take action. If that were to happen, then even if Class E were to win or lose the duel, they would be thoroughly driven into a corner. To fight the 8 Dragons is to accept such a situation. Koworu may be targeted this time and may end up in the crosshairs. It would be useless to say that Tsukishima simply went berserk. A duel between nobles carries a heavy meaning. D-class would be manageable with the current level of Akagi and his team. I'm thinking of various countermeasures, but I can't come up with any good ideas. I want to know what Tsukishima is thinking at least, so I sneak closer to listen in on their conversation. Tsukishima-kun, what was that power you showed earlier? Is it possible that it's greater than Omiya-san's? I've been hiding my true strength for various reasons, but more importantly, Koworu. It's about time, so come with me. I'll give you strength as well. What do you mean? Watching Koworu being pressed by Tsukishima, my heart starts to race. Strength? Must be player knowledge. I can't really say anything since I taught Satsuki, so if Tsukishima can protect Koworu as a partner from now on, then I did all of that to beat those guys for your sake, you know. I can promise to pull you up to super top class adventurer, and protect you until that day comes. Hey, don't you want strength? Yes, Koworu's dream is to become a top class adventurer. Any player who has completed their individual storylines knows this. In the game, Koworu pursued strength with grit and determination, enduring a harsh school life full of violence and striving to become a top-class adventurer. His desire for strength is stronger than anyone else's. And the decisive line where Koworu falls in love in the game was also, let's become super top-class adventurers together. Koworu, who was attracted to the protagonist's strength, thought, I can achieve my dream with this person, and took their hand in acceptance. That's why Tsukishima used the seductive phrase, super top-class adventurer, to try and win Koworu over. If Koworu witnessed Tsukishima overpowering the Second Swordsmanship Club, then she should have realized that Tsukishima's strength is not a bluff. She would also see the potential of becoming stronger if she were to team up with Tsukishima. In fact, if she gains player knowledge, the possibility of reaching the realm of top-class adventurers would be extremely high. Conversely, if Tsukishima can get advice from the reliable and smart Koworu at any time, his reckless behavior may become more stable, and if he can earn Koworu's trust, he may become a powerful partner who can support her both inside and outside the dungeon. In other words, if the two of them become partners. As Koworu hesitated and wavered, Tsukishima moved closer to take her hand. My heart stirred even more at the sight, and my pulse quickened. I continued to watch. There's no way I can let this happen. Pulling Koworu's hand from behind, I brought her towards me. She looked at me with a hint of surprise, her almond-shaped eyes slightly widened. Maybe she was wondering why I came out. What do you think you're doing, Butao? I'm going to kill you for real. Well, you see. My Butao mind surged within me, igniting my impulses and causing my body to act impulsively. Tsukishima, who was interrupted at a critical moment, became visibly upset and wore a fierce expression. He seemed like he was about to attack any second now. It was good that I intervened, but now what? I didn't think it through. What am I supposed to do?